Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So in this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto was developed potential power. This is part 1, and if you want more then please leave a like, share and subscribe. Let's get in the video. Naruto's eyes were fixed in an angry glare as he stormed through the village in a brisk pace, uncaring towards the villagers as he brushed past them with his shoulders. Today he wasn't in the mood to be their whipping boy. In fact, he was pissed off to the point he would most likely lash out violently if anyone pushed his buttons. It had been 3 days since the invasion and Naruto had just about fully recovered from his fight against Gaara. Having passed out minutes after the Sand siblings' retreat, Naruto had very little to no recollection of what happened. There was an invasion, that much was obvious, and Hiruzen Jiji had fought his old student, Orochimaru of the Sannin, the very same Sannin who had completely fucked up Naruto's chakra pathways during the second stage of the Chunin exam. When Naruto woke up, he found out the invasion had been defeated and that Hiruzen had forced his student in a stalemate. Orochimaru had decided to cut his losses and flee. Naruto was relieved to hear that. He knew the old man was powerful, but he was also old and fragile at age of 69. His stamina couldn't have been anywhere near Orochimaru's. He was also very confident he had earned his promotion. After all, not only had he defied the odds and defeated Hyuga Neji, he had also defeated Sabaku no Gaara and saved both his teammates, allies, and the village in the process. For the entire first day after the finals, Naruto stayed home in case he would get his notice of promotion by Messenger Hawk. None came. Naruto gave it another day, but no message came his way. It wasn't until he stepped outside to buy some groceries today, when he heard news that the promotions had already been handed out. Did you hear? Uchiha Sasuke defeated that red-haired demon from Suna. He saved us. I bet he's going to get a promotion. I heard Shikaku's kid already got the bump to Chunin. Looks like the genius lives on in the next generation, huh? They should just make Uchiha-san a Jonin already. Did you see his lightning jutsu during the finals? It was amazing. I heard he's the one who summoned Gamabunta-sama. I thought Gamabunta-sama only obeyed Jiraiya-sama. Naruto clenched his fists tightly. The old man was going to get an earful today, and anyone who got in the way of him saying what he had to say better bring backup. Naruto ran up the last steps to the Hokage tower and was met by 2 Chunin guards he vaguely knew. Azumo and Kotatsu. They were alright as far as Naruto knew. They weren't like the majority of the village populace, and were genuinely nice guys, but today he didn't care about that. He couldn't bring himself to care about what anyone thought today. Hey, you're that Naruto kid, right? Azumo and Kotatsu held up their hands as Naruto was about to walk past them. Hokage-sama just got out of the hospital, and he's asked to be left alone for some time. He doesn't want to be bothered by anyone today. Move. Naruto barked the order with visible aggression. Kotatsu took offense to that. Watch your tone, kid. Show some respect to your superiors. Move, please. Azumo eyed Kotatsu for his reaction and then turned to Naruto. Hey, whatever it is that's got you pissed off doesn't give you the right to barge in here and do as you please. Naruto glared at both of them with intensity. I am 2 seconds away from beating the crap out of both you. His voice shook with barely restrained anger and the pair of Chunin flinched, more taken back by his anger than intimidated. If you want to keep this up, prepare yourself for a few broken bones because I am done with taking your shit, got it? The Chunin shared a glance and silently parted, allowing Naruto to gain entry. What the hell was that about? Kotatsu shrugged. It's his funeral if he wants to piss off Hokage-sama. The Hokage's secretary stood up out of her chair and adjusted her glasses with a rigid posture. How did you get in here? Nobody is supposed to bother Hokage-sama today. Noticing she was being completely ignored, the secretary shouted after him, Hey! Naruto ignored her and walked through the double doors, and slammed them to a close behind him. Jiji, I need to talk to you for a minute. Sarutobi Hiruzen sat behind his desk and was overlooking some paperwork. He was wearing his cage robes under which his entire body was wrapped up in gauze, even his hands. The shinobi no kami looked up and smiled at Naruto, apprehensive of his sudden barging in but wasn't surprised in the least. Naruto had never been one for manners. It was rather refreshing really. Instead of the usual pleasantries and veiled meaning behind select choice of words, Naruto said what he wanted when he wanted. Hello there, Naruto-kun, you seem upset. What is it? Everything. Naruto took a seat without invitation and then got up immediately. He was too pent up to sit down and thus began to walk from wall to wall in the Oval Hokage office. You know, Jiji, I used to believe you when you told me things got better when I was a kid. You always said that one day people wouldn't hate me, and I believed you. I didn't know why they hated me back then, but I believed you. Hiruzen nodded slowly. Did something happen, Naruto-kun? No, yes. Naruto wasn't making a lot of sense right now. He tended to ramble whenever he was this frustrated. You know, it's been my lifelong dream to take that hat of you so everyone will acknowledge me, and you can live the rest of your days in peace, don't you, Jiji? I sure do. Naruto took a deep breath.
knowing he needed to stop this tantrum if he wanted the old man to take him seriously. Gigi, he said after a moment of silence. Not once since I found out I was the Cubist Jinchuriki have I resented the people for what they did or felt. I understand that they lost people they cared for in the attack, but that doesn't excuse them for the way they treated me my entire life, does it?
No, it does not, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen affirmed with a grave expression. Naruto hadn't brought up the Kyuubi since the night he found out he was its container. Thus the Sandaime knew whatever it was that was bothering him had to be serious. Still, I never resented them for never liking me as person. I mean, I didn't exactly make things better by pulling pranks on them, but this time they crossed the line. Gigi. I am so angry I feel I am going to explode if I don't get this off my chest.
Please, Hiruzen urged him to continue. Why didn't I get the bump to Chunin, Gigi? You know I deserve it more than anyone. Naruto slammed his hands on the Hokage's desk. It wasn't an aggressive move on his part, but merely a way to vent his frustration. The Hokage raised an eyebrow at Naruto, prompting him to realize who he was speaking to. I am sorry, Gigi. I haven't reviewed who gets promoted and who doesn't, Naruto-kun, but you seem to have a good idea who did. I've been out of commission for a few days after the botched invasion. The council has taken it unto themselves to make my job easier.
Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled. He was getting his nerve back. Nara Shikamaru got promoted and I didn't. All because he surrendered when he knew he had already lost the match.
Obviously he's going to give up if he's out of energy. That doesn't show him cutting his losses through strategic thinking. That shows him being logical. If he hadn't surrendered, that sand chick would have just killed him. Don't get me wrong. Shikamaru helped out big time when we went after Sasuke, but why did he get a promotion over me? I beat my opponent and then defeated Gaara, yet I didn't get promoted. I don't get it. Hiruzen eyed Naruto impassively, betraying no emotion through his calculative brown eyes as his minds went through the possibilities. Surely Shikaku's son would not have been promoted because he knew when to give up. That was common sense and logic. Of course, strategies and tactics were imperative prerequisites for any great shinobi, but Naruto had plenty of that, and he had proven so in his fight against Hyuga Neji, who was a fearsome opponent to say the least, and with a year's worth of experience over Naruto, had the council cleared Shikaku's son for promotion just for that, because he was the son of Nara Shikaku. It wasn't a pleasant thought for the aged Hokage, not in the slightest.
That's not all of it, Gigi, Naruto continued. Everyone is giving Sasuke credit for beating Gaara when it was Me who did that. I beat Gaara after Sasuke got his ass handed to him, and it was Me who saved Sakura-chan. What's crazy is that everybody seems to forget Sasuke didn't sign the summoning contract with Toads, so how the hell would they explain Gamabunta's appearance?
Aha! It became increasingly clear to the Hokage how much Naruto had done to protect Konoha whilst he was fighting his former student, Orochimaru. Granted, Sabaku no Gaara could have been taken out by his Anbu if necessary, but for Naruto to have faced the Ikibi Jinchuriki so soon after having faced against Hyuga Neji who did considerable damage. I am sorry for throwing this tantrum at you, Gigi. From the looks of it, you stopped listening and I can't really blame you, so I am just going to go and figure out what I am going to do next. If Sasuke doesn't get promoted, then at least Team 7 isn't split up and we can try again next year. Naruto gave the Hokage one of his rare bows. It was awkward and unrefined, but Hiruzen knew it was meant as a heartfelt apology. Naruto otherwise never engaged in formality. The blonde then turned to open the door when Hiruzen called after him.
Naruto-kun, wait. Hiruzen rose out of his chair as Naruto turned to face him. I am terribly sorry your performance was overlooked, Naruto-kun. However, I did observe your match against Hyuga Neji, and I am well aware of your triumph over Sabaku no Gaara.
Where are you going with this, Gigi? Naruto-kun, I have always known you will one day become a splendid shinobi worthy of assuming the mantle of Hokage. Your mastery of the Kage Bunshin along with your performance during your A-rank mission in Nami no Kuni, coupled with the fact Jiraiya speaks highly of you is all the evidence I need to know you are well on your way. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You know Ero Sennin. Hiruzen gave a croaky laugh at the nickname. Jiraiya is one of many students I have taught. Naruto-kun, I raised him along with Orochimaru as part of my first genin team. Naruto's eyes bulged comically and Hiruzen gave another croaky laugh. I assume he did not mention I was his sensei.
Now then, Naruto-kun, I hereby promote you to the rank of Chunin. I will be taking care of the paperwork. Hiruzen pulled a grimace as he said it. You go home and await further instructions. Gigi, thank you. You won't regret promoting me, I promise. 2 hours later. Naruto's apartment. When Naruto got home he was so excited and anxious he didn't know what to do with himself. So he decided to clean up his apartment and then his equipment. He had just placed down the last of his polished kunai in a neat row when a ticking noise caused him to avert his gaze to the window where a messenger hawk eyed him and squawked demandingly. Naruto got to his feet and quickly opened his window, allowing the bird to stand on one leg on his windowsill as it extended its remaining limb. It squawked again, as though it had somewhere else to be, so Naruto quickly took the red scroll of its leg.
Thanks. Naruto went to pet the hawk, but it nibbled at his hand impatiently, so he opened the window again and got it to leave. Go on then. Naruto pulled a sour expression, shooing the bird away just as impatiently.
The winged animal tuned and left with one last squawk as he closed the window behind him and sat down on his bed. Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled shakily as he unfurled the scroll with an anxious sense of excitement. Poof! As soon as Naruto unfurled it, a column of smoke burst out, and when it cleared,
Naruto noticed his bed and floor were cluttered with a lot of assorted shinobi equipment. Of course, the one that immediately caught his eye was his Chunin flak jacket and a tanto attached to a belt next to it. Naruto didn't notice his breathing had gone shallow. He could hardly believe it. Quickly, the blonde discarded his orange jacket and put on his Chunin flak jacket with a sense of glee and exhilaration.
Fuck yeah! Naruto jumped excitedly with a fist pump and quickly grabbed the tanto, and made swishing movements with it. He wasn't skilled in kenjutsu, not in the slightest, but at the moment he did not care, for he had been promoted. This is awesome. Naruto unsheathed the tanto and noted immediately that though it had been cleaned thoroughly, the blade itself was rather old. Naruto frowned. Why didn't the old man give him a new one?
The train of thought had him inspect his supposedly new flak jacket, and as expected, he noticed it was noticeably different. Its mesh was more durable, it had pointy shoulder pads, and the body armor frame under the fabric was both heavier and stronger than he thought it would be. Upon further inspection, Naruto retrieved an envelope from his breast pocket and quickly opened it. There were 4 documents within it.
The first one was a neatly folded sheet of paper with the Konoha stamp on it and read, "Formal Notice of Promotion." Naruto unfolded the letter and began to read the following out loud.
You, Naruto. It has come to our attention that you have performed admirably during your missions, and coupled with your performance during the Chunin exam, adequate mission success rate and skill set, we have deemed you qualified to join the ranks of Konoha's Naiju Shodai of the Border Patrol Guard. 2. The Border Patrol Guard is a department dedicated to homeland security missions in order to monitor foreign influences in Hino Kuni.
More will be explained to you upon assignment. You are expected to report in Briefing Room 1 in the Hokage Tower, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Your platoon leader will assign you to a team and further inform you of your duties.
Signed, Shinobi Assignment Department. With a sense of euphoria, Naruto reread the letter another 2 times as he sat down on his bed. I can't believe it. I actually got promoted. Gigi pulled through for me. Naruto smiled, making a mental note to treat the old man to a meal sometime. Noticing he was subconsciously crumpling the remaining 3 letters, Naruto folded his notice of promotion and placed it back in the envelope. Took a look at the second one. It appeared to be a receipt of sorts.
Recipient. You, Naruto Ninja Rank, Chunin Ninja Registration, 012607-1. The recipient has been charged with the following. 1s. I. Flak jacket. 1s. I. Tanto. 3 pairs of s. I. Shinobi uniform. W2 long-sleeved shirts and 1 short-sleeved shirt. 2 pairs of s. I. Bodysuit. 1 pair of s. I. Shinobi sandals, black. 3 packs of s. I. Kunai. X25. 3 packs of s. I. Shuriken. 50. 1 pack of s. I. Explosive tags, mild. 1 pack of s. I. Makibishi. 150. 3 rolls s. I. Sealing scrolls, 10 feet. Note. S. I. Equals standard issue. The recipient is hereby reminded to dutifully take adequate care of all equipment issued and is expected to vigilantly maintain all equipment issued.
Signed, Konoha Armory Administration. Naruto smiled to himself and took a look at all his new equipment with a content feeling. Gigi must have cleared him for this equipment, and Naruto was immensely grateful, as he sure as hell he couldn't have afforded it otherwise. Naruto decided to take the note to heart and began to pick up his newly issued equipment, and laid them out on his bed, cataloging items by purpose, and then picked up the last 2 letters.
One was a blank square sheet of paper and the other was a letter written in the familiar, neat calligraphic handwriting of the Sandame. Thus Naruto took a look at it. Naruto. I presented your case to the Shinobi Council and they realized you did Konoha a great service in successfully participating in an A-ranked mission given by your sensei in time of war when Konoha needed you most. By the time you have gotten over your excitement, I gather you will have realized you are now a Chunin and thus one significant step closer to one day kicking me out of my office. On that note, you must have noticed by now your Chunin flak and tanto are not quite standard issue. This is because those were mine when I was a Chunin during the first Great Shinobi War, and thus are somewhat different. Naruto, I would like you to have those mementos to remember me by when the day comes I will no longer be around. Now that you are a Chunin, you will be expected to participate in tougher missions and in some cases lead squads of your own. As we both should realize by now, it is time you step up your training. I do not mean to insult you, Naruto, but you must make sure you branch out in the shinobi arts and not just for yourself but for the people that will depend on you on the battlefield. I have taken the liberty to have you issued with standard issue equipment for all Chunin and above and have used up one of your sealing scrolls to include a variety of jutsu and chakra control exercises I believe you should take the time to learn. The other notes included in this envelope will be a receipt of all equipment issued to you in a special sheet of chakra paper that will determine what your primary affinity is. When a shinobi reaches the rank of Chunin, we present them with a sheet of chakra paper so that they can determine their nature type, or types, so that they can decide to specialize in the element they are strongest in. It is highly recommended you have gained some form of mastery over at least 2 nature types to reach the rank of Jonin. You will be expected to report to the Hokage Tower tomorrow afternoon for briefing and team assignment. Please refrain from emulating your sensei and be on time. First impressions are crucial. I know you will make me proud, Naruto, you are the future Hokage after all. Signed, Sarutobi Hiruzen Sandame Hokage of Konoha no Sato. Naruto reread the letter again and again, taking in every word as he sat down. The old man believed in him, he truly believed in him. That he could one day become a truly splendid shinobi and assume the mantle of Hokage. In his letter, the old man expressed nothing but expecting his best efforts and dedication. He didn't feel insulted in the slightest about the old man telling him to branch out more. Naruto knew he needed more jutsu in his arsenal. He realized that when he saw Sasuke had been taught the Chidori, but now that was the furthest on his mind. This wasn't about showing up Sasuke anymore. Naruto wouldn't allow it to be. The old man had put his faith in Naruto and he couldn't let him down now, not ever.
Naruto rose out of bed and took off the flak jacket and tanto attached to his midriff by a utility belt. Made sure he placed them down neatly on top of his new attire. Naruto then reached for his sealing scrolls and found one labeled with the kanji for jutsu and unfurled it.
Poof. As with the previous scroll, several smaller scrolls popped into existence, each with their own label marked on them. There were 4 different scrolls. One simply read Chakra Control, read, and the remaining 3 read Genjutsu, Ninjutsu and Fuinjutsu. Naturally, Naruto reached for the ninjutsu first as it was his strong suit, and upon unfurling it, he noticed the first jutsu on the scroll was the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Confused, Naruto began to read and noted it was copied straight from the scroll of sealing he had stolen the night he graduated. As he skimmed down, he noted with a deadpan expression that the Hokage had underlined information he hadn't taken the time to read the first time around. Shadow clones will transfer all of their memories and experience upon being destroyed or cancelled out, thus making them perfect for reconnaissance and other applications, including ninjutsu training. Fuck. Naruto stayed up late in the night going over all the jutsu he had read about. The old man included some easy chakra control exercises and some interesting applications, such as bending metal to repair a weapon, 2 jutsu of each element, various other jutsu and basic fuinjutsu so that Naruto could secure his equipment. By the time he went to sleep, Naruto could have kicked himself 1,000 times as he couldn't believe how deprived he had been. The Kage Bunshin alone was a goldmine, and the Hokage had written a note
stating Naruto was one of very few that could use the technique on a large scale as his reserves were incredible and he never seemed to suffer from mental fatigue when his clones were dispelled in large quantities. The old man also urged Naruto to become more strategic how he used the technique and recommended devising basic tactics. The sly old fox even included a new application to the Kage Bunshin Naruto didn't know about before.
Naruto also found out his element was wind, which was great since the Hokage had included 2 powerful futon jutsu Naruto could get the hang of in mere hours and mastery over in the span of days. Naruto was rather excited to get started but reminded himself he was expected to be more responsible, and thus set his alarm clock and went to bed, though it had never taken him as much effort to fall asleep. The next day, Naruto woke up early and for the first time in his life felt completely awake mere seconds after opening his eyes. Emerging from the bathroom, he got dressed in the standard Chunin uniform he had hung to his closet. Naruto felt pride and sense of achievement as he eyed himself in the mirror, pulling on his metal-plated gloves as he did it. Naruto picked up his headband and took of his blue cloth, opting for a black one instead as it matched his attire. No longer did he look like an obnoxious eyesore. Naruto knew he was done with his attention-seeking antics the moment he put down that letter last night. It was kind of refreshing, he realized, as he pulled his utility belt over his waist, attached his pouches and holsters and strapped his tanto to the small of his back. Naruto looked into the mirror once more, astounded by the sudden change in appearance. He seemed so different. He definitely appeared more presentable, maybe even a little older and taller, now that he didn't wear his usual bulky garb. Moreover, for once, he actually looked like a professional. Minutes later, Naruto was running over the rooftops towards the Hokage Tower. He noticed he was turning quite a few heads from both villagers and shinobi once they got over the new appearance. Naruto paid it no heed, He would have loved to boast usually, but he was short on time and wanted to make a good impression, thus he made sure to hurry up. Naruto arrived at the Hokage Tower approximately 15 minutes before his briefing was about to start. The Chunin from yesterday looked at him with raised eyebrows and expressions that conveyed mixed feelings. Naruto rubbed the back of his head, feeling a sense of embarrassment for losing his cool yesterday. Hey, sorry about yesterday, Naruto apologized, bowing his head ever so slightly. It wasn't really his thing and the Chunin knew it, but they made no comment. I was angry, but I should have taken it out on you. Kotatsu eyed Izumo and nodded, smiling. It's alright. You're that Uzumaki kid, right? Naruto nodded and both Chunin shared a good laugh at that. Naruto frowned, about to make a snide comment of his own when Kotatsu shook his head. Sorry, we were just thinking. That match you had with that Hyuga kid? Priceless. We were stationed below the Hyuga's private deck, and you should have seen the look on their faces when you won that match. Oh, thanks. Naruto gave them a smile of his own. It was nice to get some recognition for once. Yeah, that was a great one, Izumo agreed. The Chunin shared another glance and Kotatsu nodded, prompting Izumo to ask, so is it true? Is what true? Naruto asked. Come on, Izumo urged him. Naruto gave them a confused look. What? Word has it you fought alongside Uchiha Sasuke and Shikaku's kid against that Gaara kid. I've heard a lot of different stories, but word has it Sasuke beat him, is that true? No. Naruto bit out the answer with an agitated frown. Then who did? Kotatsu asked. I did. The Chunin looked at each other again and burst out laughing. It ticked Naruto off, but he refused to let his temper get the best of him, not on the first day of being Chunin. He couldn't disappoint the old man so soon. What's so funny? He demanded instead. Kotatsu abruptly stopped laughing. You're serious, aren't you? No way. Izumo shook his head. Why the hell do you think I am wearing this flak jacket? Naruto gestured to his uniform.
Though they found his flak odd, they couldn't help but laugh embarrassedly. Sorry about that, Kotatsu apologized.
It's not a big deal, Naruto lied. He was anxious to get going so he brushed past them. I'd love to talk some more but I've got to report for briefing and assignment.
As the rookie Chunin walked away, Kotatsu and Izumo looked at each other with incredulous expressions. So he really did beat Sabaku no Gaara and Hyuga Neji. Kotatsu feigned a shuddered, getting a laugh out of his partner. That kid is going places. Izumo, we need to watch out before he gets promoted to Jonin before we do.
Izumo chuckled and waved him off. He's good, but he's not that good, is he?
Ooh. 10 minutes later. Briefing Room 1. The briefing room was similar to the academy in terms of structure, though it was much larger and could probably hold up to twice as many people. In addition, instead of shelves of textbooks, there were many maps of Hino Kuni and the entire continent as well as a bulletin board with sheets of paper stuck to them. Naruto sat behind a desk in the room full of shinobi, feeling as though he was back in academy and counted about 40 in the room. Looking around, he noticed most were Chunin, and the majority of them were around his age. He recognized quite a few of them from the academy when he was younger. As Naruto expected, Shikamaru was also present. He sat a few rows behind him, for once actually sitting up straight and not dozing off and diligently making notes as the rest of them were.
Okay. Looks like everyone is here, said a tall bulky bald shinobi standing behind a lectern in the front of the room. Alright then, men, today we are joined by two rookies. Nara Shikamaru and Uzumaki Naruto are the only ones to have passed the exams this year. Quite a few found his amusing and sniggered, prompting the bald shinobi to cough to keep their attention.
As pitiful as that may sound, this year's competition was tough. That's not important though, the man continued. For the newbies, my name is Kizu Enro and I am the platoon leader of the Naiju Shotai. Enro was tall and muscular with a shaven head adorned with a deep scar running over his scalp and right eye. He was dressed in the regular uniform and wore a white piece of cloth with platoon leader stamped on it in red kanji attached under his flak jacket much like a suma. Naruto got a few looks. Few held contempt in their eyes but the majority of the shinobi were around his age and had thus never been told about the Kyuubi. If they had something against Naruto, it was either because he pulled a prank on them or because their parents told them slanderous things about him. Either way, he wouldn't let it get to him, not this time around.
I'll keep it brief for the two rookies, Kazu announced. The Naiju Shotai is the highest numbered platoon in Konoha's border patrol guard and consists out of Chunin, Tokubetsu Jonin and a handful fully fledged Jonin, the better your performance, the more likely you'll be put into lower digits for tougher missions. As the 20th platoon, we are assigned mostly with the grunt work of our central government's homeland security, so expect to be out and about on border patrol most of the time. Kazu looked at the notes placed on his lectern and nodded. First order of business, make sure to make notes. Teams 305 to 307. You already got your orders yesterday. Get going and good hunting. Naruto noted each squad had 5 members as 15 shinobi got up and left the room. Teams 308 to 310, you're cleared for border patrol for the next 3 weeks. Another 15 Chunin rose and left the briefing room, leaving 15 Chunin left, not counting Kazu and his 2 assistants. Team 311, you just returned from your mission. You guys are cleared for some R&R. I'll see you in a few days. Another 5 rose out of their seat, leaving Naruto with Shikamaru and 3 others remaining. You guys, Enro addressed the remaining 5 shinobi in the room. You are now official the 312th team of the guard, Sarugaku. You're the senior, so consider yourself promoted to team leader until further notice. Congratulations. Kazu nodded to a tall Chunin with spiky brown hair and dark eyes seated a row in front of Naruto and walked up to his desk, dropping 2 files on his desk. Here are their files, Team 312. You guys have a week to get familiar with one another before I set you on your first mission. Sarugaku, show those newbies the ropes. I am trusting you with this one. Sarugaku stood up and nodded, accepting the 2 files Kazu passed him. Understood, sir. Naruto turned around with a smile to Shikamaru, who shot him a lazy smile of his own. At the very least they knew someone in the squad, that would make things considerably easier. Sarugaku turned to them and cleared his throat. Nara, Uzumaki, Hayase, Nakamura, follow me. Naruto rose out of his desk, sharing a glance with Shikamaru, who merely nodded and followed the rest of the team. 20 minutes later. Training Ground 22. On their way to the training ground, Naruto and Shikamaru were silent whilst the remaining 3, who were already familiar with one another, spoke a few words. They arrived at the training ground and sat down under a tree as Sarugaku cleared his throat again. Alright, let's get started, the team leader announced. Addressing Naruto and Shikamaru in particular, I am already familiar with Hayase and Nakamura, but since you 2 are new, I believe a team-building exercise is in order. I will begin. My name is Sarugaku Suzumi and I will be your team leader, TL for short. You may address me as Taicho during missions and Senpei during downtime. I am 22 years old. I enjoy good literature and strategic board games. I specialize in sabotage and setting up traps with my explosive ninjutsu. I have an affinity for fire. My ambition is to one day join the ranks of Anbu. You left out you're the oldest in our division, Hayase pointed out with a laugh. Then turning to the rookies, he added, Suzumi here hasn't gotten promoted once since he joined the division 4 years ago. Sarugaku cleared his throat with a not so subtle glare at Hayase. Yes, I am the most experienced member of the Niju Shotai, and I have yet to be promoted due to the fact my experience is needed in our division. Before Hayase could retort, the Chunin then added, why don't you go next, Hayase? Hayase was a teenage Chunin with silky bluish-gray hair going down the right side of his face and gray eyes. He had tanned skin and flamboyant air about him. Fine. My name is Hayase. I am currently 17 years old and my hobbies include promiscuity and ninjutsu. I specialize in earth jutsu and sabotage just like Senpei over here, though I am brushing up my kenjutsu. Hayase emphasized his point by resisting a hand one of his twin kodachi strapped over his shoulder. As for my ambitions, bang 100 chicks before I reach 30. At your rate, try 3,000. Nakamura commented with a tone of disgust Naruto could relate to. He wasn't sure whether he liked Hayase. The guy looked energetic and friendly, but he was somewhat of a tool. Nakamaru Rei was an attractive purple-haired kunoichi with pale skin and violet eyes. She was one of the few kunoichi that were present and wore a slit skirt with skin-tight shorts and stockings instead of shinobi trousers and carried a backpack rather than pouches. I'll go next. My name is Nakamura Rei. I am 14 years old and have been a chunin for 7 months. My hobbies include art, cooking and gardening. My affinity is water. I specialize in medical ninjutsu and genjutsu. Naruto smiled. At least he's something in common with one of his new teammates. Sarugaku seemed to be very ambitious and loved authority. Hayase reminded him of Akiba if he loved women as much as dogs, but at the very least Rei seemed normal and she liked gardening, as did he. That, and she was very attractive, cuter than Sakura, so that was definitely a plus. Sarugaku cleared his throat again. Naruto was beginning to dislike that habit. Now then, Nara, Uzumaki, you 2 take turns. Please tell us about yourself so I can see if your files are up to date. Shikamaru looked at Naruto and then sighed. My name is Nara Shikamaru. I am 13 years old and my hobbies include shogi and cloud watching. As for my affinity, I don't know what it is. I specialize in my clan's shadow possession jutsu and tactics. My goal is to join Konoha's strategic department. Sarugaku took a look at Shikamaru's folder and nodded repeatedly. From what I understand, you graduated second to last in your class, after Uzumaki Naruto here, who was the dead last of your year. The senior chunin seemed rather disappointed to have been saddled with the 2 worst students of their year. How did you 2 pass? It was a rhetorical question they didn't answer, and he continued reading the file. Your sensei was Sarutobi Asuma, the Hokage's son? That explains your promotion at least. Sarugaku raised an eyebrow as he read out loud, incredible. An IQ over 200, noted to have incredible tactical and strategic mindset, son of Nara Shikaku, impressive. I can see Asuma did a great job teaching you. It was just as Asuma was mentioned when Shikamaru brushed his ear. Naruto noticed the shadow user's new earrings were most likely a parting gift. He hadn't got one from Kakashi. Then again, Kakashi probably didn't know he was promoted. Naruto made a note to seek his old team after they were done here. Brainy, huh? Looks like this kid is smarter than you, senpai. Heiase grinned at Sarugaku, who seemed rather perturbed by this.
Alright, looks like I am last. Naruto took a moment to formulate his thoughts. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I am also 13 years old and my hobbies include gardening and pulling pranks. I have an affinity for wind and I specialize in ninjutsu, and I am also decent at taijutsu. I suppose my ninjutsu is somewhat lacking, but I am working on it. My dream is to one day become Hokage and protect the village from its enemies.
Ah yes, Hokage. There was a tone of condescension in Sarugaku's voice as he sat down on a log post and placed Shikamaru's folder on the floor and picked up Naruto as Heiase took a glance at the shadow user's files. Okay. Let's see. Sarugaku frowned and turned the folder for everyone to see. You might want to submit a different picture for your file, Uzumaki. Naruto laughed at the picture of himself with white and red face paint and Heiase burst out laughing whilst Shikamaru and Rei merely cracked a smile. Yeah, I'll think about it. Don't think about it. Do it. Consider that your first order. Sarugaku frowned at him and continued to read out loud to share the information. Dead last of your year. Multiple infractions of misconduct in academy. Characteristics ranging from immature to impatient and impulsive. Sarugaku looked at him with barely veiled contempt. Naruto was pretty much the anti-version of himself. Naruto rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment as Rei and Heiase looked at him as though they already knew he was going to be a burden to his team. Shikamaru, on the other hand, smiled at Naruto. Having known him since childhood and having recently acquired a lot more respect for the blonde, the shadow user knew full well Naruto was going to be anything but a burden to the team. How in the hell did you get assigned 2A-ranked missions? At this, his new teammates shared confused looks. Sarugaku began to read more and then made a sound of understanding. I see. Your sensei was none other Hitaki Kakashi and you were on the same team as Uchiha Sasuke, that explains it. Naruto frowned at that. No, it doesn't. It came out sounding ruder than he thought and Sarugaku didn't take kindly to it. Excuse me. Your file indicates you were insubordinate and immature, with little to no talent. How did you even get promoted? I heard you defeated Hyuga Neji, but I had my doubts. This just confirms it. Shikamaru turned to Naruto. He makes a good point. You weren't at the ceremony. How did you get promoted? I went to the old man and I. Naruto wasn't proud of saying it. Demanded he promote me, sort of. Sort of? Heiase chuckled. Sarugaku gave Naruto a cold look. I suggest you learn some respect and stop lying, Uzumaki. If you so much as raised your voice at Hokage-sama, you would have been thrown in detention, not promoted. You won't impress anyone with being a braggart and a liar. Let's just say we're close. Naruto replied vaguely. He doubted they would believe him if he told them exactly how close he was to the old man, and like I said, Uchiha Sasuke being on my team has nothing to do with the fact I got promoted. If it did, don't you think he would be here too? Or what? Do you think he got promoted to Jonin before you? There a sting to that comment that struck a few chords with Sarugaku, who flipped over a few pages. It says right here, Uchiha Sasuke defeated two Chunin known as the Demon Brothers from Kirigakure, defeated Momochi Zabuza's protege and assisted Hitaki Kakashi in defeating Momochi, who is one of the 7 swordsmen of Kirigakure I might add, all in one A-rank mission you just happened to be a part of. Heiase and Rei seemed genuinely surprised and Shikamaru gave Naruto a curious look. He hadn't heard much about Team 7's first A-ranked mission either. Sarugaku continued with a glare aimed at Naruto, and then, there is records of him defeating Sabaku no Gaara, and saving Konoha and several allies, including you, in the process. That's not what happened, Naruto said through gritted teeth. Yes, Sasuke beat the Demon Brothers, but we both helped Kakashi-sensei beat Zabuza the first time around. The second time it was all Kakashi-sensei. As for Zabuza's protege, his name was Haku and he defeated both me and Sasuke before I managed to beat him with luck the second time around. And I am sure you also beat Sabaku no Gaara, Sarugaku inferred sarcastically, getting a chuckle out of Heiase and an impassive stare from Rei directed at Naruto.
He did beat Sabaku no Gaara, Shikamaru interrupted, cutting of Naruto's retort. He did, Heiase asked with a somewhat dumbfounded expression. Rei looked at Naruto as though he was some fascinating creature, him. Shikamaru sighed, annoyed he was getting involved in this. Yes, I was on the same A-ranked mission to assist Uchiha Sasuke. He was losing the fight until Naruto ended up saving him. Who do you think summoned that huge toad?
Gamabunta-sama was summoned by Jiraiya-sama. He is the only one alive with the toad summoning contract. Maybe you didn't notice, but Jiraiya-sama was summoning his toads right in the village when Orochimaru attacked. Sarugaku pointed out heatedly. There is no way this loser did anything that great. Naruto got to his feet aggressively. He had just about enough. What is your problem? Naruto let it go. Shikamaru interrupted him again, being one of the few that Naruto could genuinely call a friend.
He understood why Naruto was so angry. After all, Sasuke had been beating him in everything since academy days. He realized how the blonde had to feel frustrated to say the least. To have his one win, his promotion, be associated with Sasuke. Still, this was their first day as Chunin and Naruto couldn't just go and piss off their team leader. It's obvious they won't believe you. Just prove to them how strong you are when the opportunity arises.
Naruto glared at the shadow user but couldn't help but agree and thus settled down. Fine, think what you want. Sarugaku-senpai, I'll make you eat those words someday. Sarugaku ignored that remark as he got his feet and clapped his hands together. Now then, let's familiar with team formations and tactics. These two need to get familiar with our teamwork. Hayase groaned. Great. 2 hours later. Okay, that's it for today, team. Tomorrow, well put the theory to practice. Dismissed.
Naruto got up from the ground and put back on his flak jacket, having discarded it when it got too hot. They had been going over nothing but tactics at a snail's pace. It was if Sarugaku thought they were completely stupid. Naruto decided by the end, he didn't like Sarugaku in the slightest. Never mind the fact he thought all of his accomplishments were Sasuke's, the guy was just generally just an ass to Naruto. Hayase was alright. Naruto didn't mind his attitude in the slightest. Ray didn't seem to think much of him, but he was fine with it considering most people were like that towards him initially and it only encouraged him to prove them wrong. It went without saying he was closest to Shikamaru on the team. They would probably grow closer now that they were on the same team. They got along nicely when they were kids but were pretty much strangers by the time they left academy for various reasons.
I'll see you tomorrow, Shika. I've got to go to Kakashi-sensei and say goodbye to my old team. Shikamaru merely nodded. Sure. But would you mind telling me why your flak is different from mine before you go? It looks heavier. This is Gigi's old flak jacket from when he was a Chunin like a century ago. He also gave me his old Tonto. Naruto indicated blade attached to the flak jacket by a belt. Cool, huh? Shikamaru smiled lazily. I'll never understand why Hokage-sama likes you so much. It's because I am the one who's going to let him retire. See ya, Shika. With that, Naruto took off, running towards Team Kakashi's usual training ground.
Naruto arrived at training ground 7 minutes later and saw Kakashi reading his book whilst instructing Sasuke, who was fighting his clone as Sakura cheered on her teammate. It was as if nothing had changed. The only difference would have been Naruto cheering for Kakashi's clone instead of Sasuke, which would usually get him a pummeling from Sakura. The thought brought a genuine smile to his face.
Kakashi looked up from his book as Naruto held up his hand in greeting. The Jonin smiled lazily behind his mask and his clone caught Sasuke's fist, causing him and Sakura to notice Naruto had arrived. The Scarecrow had to admit, Naruto looked a lot more like the Yondaime than usual in his standard Konoha uniform. The knucklehead ninja appeared more confident and somewhat more mature, maybe even a little taller. Naruto. Sakura looked at Sasuke as though to confirm it was really her teammate. Why are you wearing that uniform? You got promoted, didn't you?
Naruto came to a stop in front of his team and smiled proudly. I got promoted yesterday. Sorry I didn't tell you. It was sort of last minute. Sakura-chan. The Rosette shared glances with Sasuke and looked like she was about to try dispelling a genjutsu. I am serious. I really got promoted. Gigi himself promoted me yesterday.
Sakura gave her sensei a wide-eyed look. Is it true, Kakashi-sensei? Did Naruto really get promoted? Kakashi nodded, before me and Sasuke?
Naruto frowned. What's that supposed to mean, Sakura-chan? Gigi told me I earned this promotion and he even gave me his old flak jacket. Naruto emphasized his point by indicating his uniform. I am sorry, Naruto. That sounded really mean. I am just surprised you're the only one that got promoted. I mean not even Sasuke or Neji got promoted. Naruto was about to retort he actually beat his opponent, but let it go. He still had feelings for Sakura and he didn't want to upset her. Nor did he want to ruin this moment. Sasuke looked at Naruto with an arrogant smile, the very same he had when he told Naruto he wanted to fight him the most during the finals. Congratulations, you earned it. Naruto was taken back. Did that just happen? Sasuke never congratulated him on anything before. Thanks. Naruto grinned at the raven-haired genin. Naruto thought back to a few weeks after they graduated and the Uchiha had saved him again during one of their missions. If you don't want to owe me, surpass me. Those were the words Sasuke had said to him. It was the first time Sasuke acknowledged him as a potential rival.
That seemed to do it for Sakura, who nodded and kindly smiled at him. Congratulations, Naruto. Kakashi put away his book and took a thoughtful pose. I suppose tradition dictates I give you a present, but what could I give you?
The Chidori. Naruto thought immediately. You don't need to give me anything, Kakashi-sensei. I am just glad I got promoted, though it looks like I am going to have a tough time getting my teammates to like me. Kakashi gave Naruto a curious look and Naruto subtly shook his head, indicating it wasn't because of his status as a Jinchuriki. Let me guess, your teammates are people you have pulled a prank on.
Naruto laughed. No, that's not it, it's actually kind of funny.
For the next few minutes, Naruto told them all about his teammates and how he got promoted. He had the sense to tone down on Sarugaka's attitude towards him to not alarm his team. Shikamaru got promoted too. Sakura's tone was disbelieving and it was getting annoying, but Naruto let it go. The two lowest scoring genin in our class got promoted to Chunin. That's kind of ironic, isn't it? Well, Shikamaru just never tried. Sakura-chan, he's really smart but he's just as lazy, so he doesn't seem dangerous, though. That's the scary part. Naruto came to the shadow user's defense. They were now teammates after all. As for me, Naruto grinned. If I knew how to use a Kage Bunshin, I would have passed the first time around.
Kakashi chuckled at that. So this Sarugaku doesn't like you very much? No, he doesn't. Naruto laughed nervously as Sasuke and Sakura gave him disapproving looks. It's really not my fault, it isn't. He added forcibly when they kept looking at him like that. He thinks everything I've done, Sasuke did.
Sasuke glared at no one in particular and they wisely choose not to comment on that. For the rest of the afternoon, Naruto stayed with his old team. It got nostalgic. Even Sasuke seemed bothered by the fact he was leaving, though hell would freeze over twice before he would admit it. Kakashi looked up as Hawk flew by. It looks like we're being summoned for a mission. Naruto, it's been nice seeing you again. Make sure to drop by every now and then. Somebody needs to keep Sasuke on his guard. Sasuke got to his feet and grabbed his backpack and nodded to him while Sakura bid Naruto goodbye. For a moment Naruto looked at his old team as they left, a wave of nostalgia crashing over him as he could hardly believe this was really happening. In the few months they had been together, Naruto felt he had really bonded with them, and to see them leave made his heart feel heavy.
Naruto cupped his hands to his mouth. Sasuke. In the distance, the Uchiha turned around with a questioning look. What is it? Naruto smiled. I'll see you at the top. For a moment Sasuke was expressionless. Then, a smile crept to his features as he locked eyes with Naruto and began to smile slowly. I'll see you there. Naruto clenched his fists as his old teammates disappeared out sight.
Feeling a mix of emotions ranging from anxiousness to excitement, he stood there for a few minutes, unmoving and deep in thought as he dealt with the nostalgia that came to surface. Naruto smiled. Just because he outranked them now didn't mean they would stop getting stronger. He had to continue getting stronger, both for himself and for his old team. Naruto reached to the small of his back and reached into his pouch, retrieving the scroll containing jutsu. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto pushed through the double doors, a greeting smile on his face as he entered spacious office of the Hokage. The old man was seated, eyes glancing over a file in his hand which he placed on his desk and stamped with his seal, Gigi. Hiruzen's eyes rested on Naruto's somewhat disheveled form, noticing a few smudges of dirt and mud here and there. When I said I wanted to see you after your mission, I didn't mean straight away, Naruto-kun. I know, Gigi, but I don't mind. Naruto drew a chair, oblivious to the Hokage's mindful eye of his luxurious furniture under a dirty pair of trousers. So, what did you want to see me about? The Hokage leaned back into his chair and curled his fingers. How was your first mission as a Chunin? Not too much trouble, I suspect.
Naruto shook his head. It was pretty boring, but being in the countryside was kind of refreshing.
I see. Well, with time and experience you may very well be issued with tougher missions to complete, the Hokage told him, but for the time being, you are yet a rookie, Naruto-kun, you'll have to deal with whatever mission you're set with.
Naruto nodded. I understand, Gigi, good, the old man nodded approvingly. For a moment it seemed that was all the old man wanted. Thus Naruto rose out of his chair with a nod, however Hiruzen held up a hand. One moment, Naruto, I must regrettably inform you.
Your promotion has come at an unfortunate time. Naruto was confused but asked no question. Thus Hiruzen continued, due to recent events you're going to have a lot on your plate. Missions will be coming in non-stop for the time being and there's a good chance even your downtime will be spent running errands. I suggest you take the time to rest properly whenever you can. Even as a rookie you will be expected to hit the ground running, Naruto-kun. Why's that, Gigi? Well, the Hokage leaned back into his chair for a moment, Konoha needs to prove that the invasion has done nothing to impede our efforts in maintaining our place amongst the great 5 shinobi villages, therefore it is imperative we appear 100% operational at all times.
So we're basically flexing our muscles to keep the other villages on their toes? Naruto inferred. You catch on quick, Hiruzen said with a smile. Naruto scratched his cheek. Hey, must be Shika's influence on me.
Don't sell yourself short, Naruto-kun. You may not have an IQ exceeding 200, but when it comes down to it, you are a fighting genius. Hiruzen's tone was surprisingly firm. Naruto nodded with a stronger sense of confidence. On the way here I noticed a lot of civilian work crews. Does that mean the daimyos coughed up funds for repairing the damage from the invasion? Indeed, Hiruzen nodded. I won't bore you with the details, but as you may already know, it can be quite cumbersome to secure additional funds from our daimyo. Fortunately, the Shodai drafted several clauses when Konoha was formed. Amongst those clauses, there are quite a few we can invoke in instances such as these.
Aha, I see. Naruto turned to see the Hokage's aide walk in with a stack of paperwork. The old monk's expression instantly fell. Well, I'll leave you to it, Gigi, I'll swing by soon. I already look forward to it, the old man grumbled as his eyes laid on the pile of paperwork, as though willing it to spontaneously burst into flames.
3 weeks later, Hino Kuni countryside. In the woodlands in Fire Country's countryside, Naruto stumbled tiredly to the source of water in the distance. Moments later, the blonde knelt down by a stream, sinking his tanto in the soil as he eyed the water closely. He reached into his pouch and withdrew a small canister of light blue pills and dropped 3 into the stream. The immediately following fizzy noise was as a result of a chemical reaction the pills set off to clear the water of toxins and other impurities.
These pills were usually used by shinobi in foreign countries, but one could never be too certain. It was one of the many things he picked up over the last few weeks. Most seemed rather mundane, but in reality were rather sensible. For instance, the tanto stabbed in the ground would, if left there, would tip off his teammates something had happened, such as a surprise attack for instance.
Naruto waited for the water to clear up some more and then submerged his hands into the stream, filling them with water and splashed some on his face to rub the dirt off the dirt and fatigue. He allowed himself a minute to idly stare into his reflection, then reached for his canteen to fill it up with water as his mind wandered.
Another scouting mission, Team 312 had been deployed on mission after mission for the past 2 weeks. It was almost as if their platoon leader, or PL for short, was making them catch up for the week off he had given them to familiarize themselves with team procedures.
Naruto hadn't seen his old team in weeks, or any of his other peers for that matter. It was just like the old man had told him it would be. The hidden leaf had to be wary of others' villages that would jump at the chance to take them down and usurp their place amongst the Great Five. The scouting missions they were sent on were more often than not uneventful and boring. But Naruto knew it was simply flexing the muscles on Konoha's part. By appearing to be fully operational and vigilant at the same time, the other villages would watch their step. Unfortunately, increased shinobi appearance throughout Hino Kuni required more manpower, and with the significant loss of shinobi in the last invasion, this meant all shinobi of Chunin rank and higher would be working almost non-stop. This particular scouting mission was a bitch to handle though. In 72 hours they had to cover 80 miles to their sign-off point and another 80 back to Konoha. 1. A rustling noise in the background alerted him, causing Naruto to instantly thrust a kunai from his sleeve. It was a nice piece of mechanism Hayase showed him to create with a bit of ninja wire and a spring set.
Relax, it's just me. Shikamaru knelt down next to Naruto and took the blonde's canteen out of his hand without asking, and took a swing.
Sure, Shika. No problem. Have a drink. What's mine is yours. Naruto's deadpan expression did not reflect his words. Swiping back his canteen and fixing it to his utility belt, Naruto stood up as the shadow user cleansed his face from dirt and fatigue. I thought take 5 meant take a 5-minute break. What, did Tsurugaku forget how to tell time? You should make more of an effort to get along, Shikamaru told him, also getting to his feet after refilling his own canteen. Anyway, from the looks of it we'll be going home early.
I doubt it. Naruto shook his head with a wry smile at the thought that was too good to be true. If Tsurugaku so much as arrives a second early, he'll get all agitated. The guy doesn't want to appear to not be doing his job. You know that as well as I do, Shikamaru. Shikamaru shook his head. I bet you 1,000 ryo I am right, too. You never gamble. Naruto's eyes narrowed suspiciously. You're trying to take me for a fool, aren't you? You shifty bastard. Wouldn't take much effort, Shikamaru commented under his breath. What? Nothing. Let's just say we found something interesting that'll be enough incentive for Tsurugaku to let us wrap up this mission up early. Naruto swung his backpack over his shoulders. Well then, let's go and see. Moments later, Naruto's stomach churned at the sight of 3 decapitated corpses that appeared to have just been unearthed. Sarugaku was unperturbed, having probably encountered situations like these before. He knelt down by the decomposing bodies as he swiped away some flies. Aren't they just lovely? Hayase sighed dreamily. I was just minding my own business, you know, taking a leak, and on my way back I stumbled over some uneven earth, and just like that I saw a toe sticking out. How Hayase found this funny, Naruto didn't know, but he was afraid to ask. Whoever tried to ditch these bodies obviously didn't do that good of a job. I mean, they were barely a foot deep.
The bodies appear to have been here for a few days. Ray droned in what Naruto assumed was her doctor voice as she took out a notebook and a camera and slipped on some latex gloves. All three subjects indicate their decapitation was post-mortem. Their skins bear many scars, some of which have already faded. Whatever business they were in, it was rough. Rough business, huh? Sarugaku reached for Reese's backpack and retrieved a pair of latex gloves, slipping them on and peeling away the kimono one of the corpses was wearing. Just as I thought, these guys were members of a yakuza.
Naruto raised an eyebrow and knelt next to his senior, pinching the bridge of his nose as he did so. What makes you think that? See these marks? Sarugaku tapped a finger on the monk's neck.
Under the grimy dirt, Naruto could vaguely read the kanji for Kurotagumi. Aha, looks like they got what was coming to them. Naruto didn't feel sympathy for the deceased. They probably weren't the best of folks anyway. Standard procedure is to document this and send a copy to the nearest settlements, right? Right, Ray confirmed. I will begin with documenting. I'll make a copy for the nearest. That won't be necessary, Nakamura, Sarugaku decided. The nearest settlement is Tanzakugai, a city well known for its casinos, red light districts and their yakuza organizations. Something tells me these three weren't just some lowlife thugs. What gave that away? The three dead bodies buried miles outside the city outskirts. Hayase interjected sarcastically. They're too well dressed. Sarugaku finished, and he made a good point. Though they were covered in dirt, these men were buried in some expensive-looking clothing. They couldn't have been the regular dime a dozen kind of thugs. The marks around hands and fingers indicated they were also stripped from their jewelry by whoever buried them out here. We're going to document this, but we're not sending a copy to Tanzakugai's police department. We're going to report back to RPL and hell decide what we'll do next. Naruto eyed Shikamaru for a response. The lazy genius merely shrugged indifferently, so Naruto tried anyway. Standard procedure. Standard procedure is to follow the chain of command. Uzumaki. Sarugaku cut him off. As TL, this is my call to make and I am making it. Nakamura, I'll be waiting for your report back at camp. Hayase, help me pack up. You two rookies stay with Nakamura. Sarugaku left no room for argument and left quickly after giving instructions, with Hayase right behind him. Naruto glared at the retreating form of Sarugaku. That guy has issues. Ray shrugged as she dutifully took notes. Uzumaki, let it be. He's the TL. He gets to call the shots. Not you.
I didn't say let it go. Naruto. Shikamaru fell in to avoid another argument. We're the rookies here. Let them decide how and what. It's his ass on the line anyway. Fine. That doesn't mean I have to like it, though. Naruto leaned against tree and took watch as Ray began to take pictures with her camera and made notes. 3 weeks in and he still hadn't made much progress in getting along with his teammates. It went without saying. He and Shikamaru got along fine as they used to be rather good friends as kids, but the other three were different. Ray was unusually cold and shot him down whenever he tried to talk to her.
Hayase was so much like Jiraiya, there were very few conversations they had that wasn't strictly about girls, which made the guy an obnoxious tool, and Sarugaku, well, he was a lost cause from the get-go. Naruto could only hope he would earn his promotion early and get the hell out of the border patrol guard, as it was neither interesting nor challenging as he had hoped. Ooh. The next day, Naruto woke up in his apartment a little later than usual, having arrived home only a few hours into the early morning. The journey back to Konoha was uneventful and boring. Much like the majority of scouting missions they were assigned to. As per usual, Naruto headed to Ichiraku's for a few bowls before heading back to his apartment. Tired and smelly, perhaps he shouldn't have stayed up a little longer to learn the principles behind water-based ninjutsu. Fatigued, Naruto stumbled into his kitchen, setting on some coffee and went into the bathroom to get freshen up. It struck him with a sense of relief today his team would get switched off scout rotation for a couple of days. Even with his immense stamina, scouting mission took it out of him mentally as much as physically. Naruto ate his fill. As he ate, he took out a scroll on water-based ninjutsu and continued to read up on an offensive water-type ninjutsu that could prove useful against multiple opponents. The principle was somewhat familiar to a few wind-based ninjutsu he had gotten down in past weeks, so it wouldn't take too long to get it down. He kept a mindful eye on the clock in his kitchen. I'd better get going if I don't want Sarugaku to bitch at me all day again. Naruto rushed out of his apartment and took to the rooftops as he headed towards the Hokage tower for today's briefing.
Today Team 312 would be put off scouting rotation. Usually each team went on deployment for 3 weeks, and then got downtime for another week before being put back on the scouting roster. Though his team had only been on 2 weeks worth of scouting missions, they were still on the roster scheduled for downtime, which had also been cut down to 4 days rather a full week to compensate for Konoha's efforts in maintaining 100% functionality.
You're actually on time for once, Shikamaru noted a few minutes later. Morning to you too, Naruto responded dryly. Where are the others? Naruto looked around. They were standing outside the Hokage tower and it seemed none of his teammates were around. Inside. Inside, Shikamaru nodded. I told them I'd wait out here for you.
I was late once, Shikamaru. Once, Naruto shook his head as he brushed past Shikamaru and walked into the huge cylinder-shaped tower in which the Hokage resided. We're scheduled for downtime today, right? Shikamaru shrugged. I don't know. What do you know? A whole lot more than you. That's for sure. Shikamaru put very little effort in his comebacks, yet they still always managed to bother Naruto, who in this instance opted to flip off his perpetually lazy teammate as they walked side by side. Still, Naruto had to hand it to Shikamaru. The lazy genius was knowledgeable on a lot of things, having grown up with a well-known shinobi strategist father and a mother who was a qualified chunin, not to mention hailing from one Konoha's most prominent shinobi clans. Much of this knowledge on the shinobi world, Shikamaru had shared with Naruto. Prior to his promotion, Naruto had the simplistic understanding that one could become a Kage simply by traversing the ranks between Genin to Jonin and eventually be appointed by the current Hokage. How wrong he had been. Shikamaru explained to him that such a system simply wouldn't work with a powerful shinobi village as Konoha, which had thousands of shinobi within its ranks. His ignorance wasn't necessarily his fault though, not if you consider the fact military structure wasn't even covered in the academy, and if it was, he probably slept through or missed those lessons. Nor did Kakashi take the time to explain it to his team like Asuma had done for Shikamaru, Ino and Choji. With Nara's assistance and a handbook from Rei, Naruto came to understand Konoha's military force was divided into various departments, organizations, divisions and so on, to name a few. Konoha had its Border Patrol Guard, the Intelligence Department, Interrogation and Torture Force and Cryptanalysis Division, each dedicated to covering Konoha on certain field they specialized in. To realize his dream, Naruto would have not only have to simply be promoted to Jonin, he would have to be promoted to more prominent organizations within Konoha's shinobi ranks in order to gain support from his peers and to become a well-rounded shinobi knowledgeable of all shinobi playing fields. In short, a viable candidate for the seat of Hokage, a position upon which the daimyo, his delegates and Konoha's elite convened on. What Naruto found particularly interesting was that each sect within Konoha's military structure had its own traditions and codes of conduct. For example, the elitists from Intelligence Department always wore gray military-esque uniforms with face masks or bandages covered around their faces and were of very few choice words. The intimidating, and questionably sane, members of Torture and Interrogation Force wore the same sort of military suits under black trench coats and bandanas, often to hide their own hideous scars. Members of the Marine Division. Naruto had no idea Konoha even had a Marine Division. Always wore blue garb over their wetsuits and had water apparatuses on their waists at all times. Naruto along with Shikamaru had been signed to the Niju Shotai, the 20th platoon of Konoha's Border Patrol Guard, a department dedicated to tracking and reporting foreign influence, and in some cases domestic influence, throughout Hai no Kuni. Their assigned missions mostly consisted out of border patrol, scouting, and long-duration missions at stations, checking up on traps set by the other platoons and investigating matters of interests, which could range from fluctuations in crime to highway robbery. Naruto learned the lower the number of your platoon, the more seasoned your colleagues were and the tougher your missions would be. Each platoon had a minimum of 40 members and was divided in teams of 5s, often named after the team leader for convenience. Rei had saved them a seat next to her in the briefing room. I see you have finally taken the time to join us, Uzumaki. I was late once, Rei. When are you guys gonna let that go? Naruto took a seat next to Rei, a rather stoic medical kunoichi on his team whose demeanor was colder than anyone else he knew. I am sorry I cost us that one lousy, stinking mission too. Pipe down, Uzumaki. Sarugaku ordered from the far left seat on their row. The PL is here. Naruto looked at Shikamaru with an irritable expression. The shadow user merely shrugged and slumped in his chair as their platoon leader took his position behind the lectern and the briefing started. Alright boys and girls, who's missing? Their platoon leader Kazuo Enro took a head count before he continued. Today's rotation schedule. Teams 308 to 312, you guys got some downtime for the next week. Yes, I said a full week and yes, there's a catch. You guys will have to run some errands for the Armory administration due to lack of manpower. Almost immediately several shinobi gave shouts of indignation, but their burly platoon leader wasn't having any of it. Pipe down. Enro ordered loudly, TLs of teams 308 to 312. I have your mandates here, come and collect them after briefing. Yes, sir. Sarugaku was the only team leader that actually replied. Now then, Enro continued, there have been several reports of Nuke Nin, the borderlands roughly 50 miles south of Konoha's Armory Administration building. A while later Team 312 stood together in the Armory Administration's warehouse facilities below ground level. Lack of manpower was a bit of an understatement as the facility was practically abandoned. Sarugaku walked past each of them and handed out clipboards filled with orders on equipment and materials that needed to be delivered and collected. All right. We'll get the job done much quicker if we just delegate the workload. Sarugaku told them as he handed each of them a clipboard with information on them. Rei, since it's your expertise, you'll be handling the medical supplies. Understood. With that, Rei took off into another direction. Hey Ace, you and I will be handling these prototype demolition kits. From what they're telling me, only Ambu operatives can get their hands on these babies, so well, take care of that. Naruto frowned, looking down on the orders on his clipboard that were identical to Shikamaru's. Why do we have to deliver all this boring stuff while you get the cool prototypes? Naruto gestured to the hundreds of stacked boxes in the warehouse facility with his clipboard to illustrate his point. These orders need to go all over the place, it'll take us forever just to find them. Seniority, Uzumaki, Sarugaku responded coolly, Seniority my. When he's right, he's right. Heiase added with a slap to Naruto's shoulder as the oldest members of Team 312 took off.
Great. Naruto swore under his breath. Let's get this over with. I want to get in some training today. Naruto set the clipboard down on one box and then stacked the box on another two. Come on, Shika. Shikamaru stared at him with a dry expression. Naruto, do you ever use your clones for anything other rushing your opponents? Right. Naruto's sweat dropped, feeling incredibly stupid for not having thought of that himself. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Pillars of smoke burst out around them as 12 Naruto clones appeared and took off with their own clipboards, exploring the giant warehouse facility. Incredible. That's the Kage Bunshin Jutsu, isn't it? Naruto turned to the source of the voice and found a young girl their age standing by corner. My name is Shiho. She introduced herself as she approached them with an outstretched hand and a clipboard in another, held over a small square parcel. I work downstairs. Shiho was a tall and slender girl their age with light blonde hair and pale skin. She wore a lab coat over her regular clothes and a pair of glasses. Downstairs. Shikamaru repeated. Shiho immediately clapped her hands over her mouth and accidentally poked herself in the eye with her clipboard, though the damage was decreased due to her wearing glasses. Ouch. I am not supposed to tell anyone of the secret floor below this one, so please keep it quiet. She's an oddball, isn't she? Naruto whispered to Shikamaru rather audibly, pointlessly using the clipboard to hide what he was doing. Don't be rude, Naruto, Shikamaru chided. Rest assured your secret is safe with us. Shikamaru nodded to Shiho. May I know your names? Shiho inquired with a soft tone, indicating how shy and socially awkward she was. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto replied with his usual flamboyant bravado. Nara Shikamaru, you two are both Chunin? Shiho asked, to which the pair nodded. Oh, wow, that's rather unusual, you two look like you could be my age. How old are you? 13, I am turning 14 in 5 months. Instantly Shikamaru's eyes narrowed as he snapped out of his perpetually lazy demeanor. You're younger than both of us, yet you're working for the Armory Administration in a secret level below this one. You must be quite the kunoichi. I assume you're a Chunin, too? I am indeed, Shiho confirmed. I graduated the academy over 4 years ago though. Whoa, you must be some super genius like Shikamaru, huh? Naruto was genuinely impressed. He has an IQ of over 200 or something like that. Naruto hurriedly elaborated, not even interested in the slightest with Shikamaru's genius. I bet you're a lot smarter than this lazy ass, huh? Well, I have IQ of 213. Shiho blushed a brilliant shade of red at the compliment. 3. What about you, Shika? Naruto prodded his companion. Mine is 208. Shikamaru said the digits with an unusual serious expression. Granted, there weren't many out there with the intellect that could rival his own genius, and to meet a shy, withdrawn girl like Shiho who not only rivaled him but whose IQ surpassed his must have been somewhat surprising, if not shocking. Naruto burst out laughing, punching Shikamaru in the arm. Ha! I knew you weren't smartest kid our age. Suck it, Shika. There go your bragging rights. Shiho stifled a laugh with some difficulty. Well, I am sure. Wait. Did you just say you were of the Nara clan? Shikamaru nodded and Shiho instantly made a swoon-like noise. You must be related, Nara Shikaku. A bit of a late reaction, Naruto noted with a sweat drop. He's my father. I knew it. You look just like him. Shiho exclaimed. I met your father once. It was a few months ago. He mentioned he had a son my age graduating soon.
That was you. Naruto couldn't quite grasp why this exciting news, and by the looks of it neither could Shikamaru. What was Shika's dad doing down here? Shiho-chan. Shiho-chan. Oh my, how familiar. Shiho said it more to herself to anyone else, hence it went unnoticed by Naruto. I am afraid I can't tell you, Uzumaki-san. Everything that goes down below is an A-rank secret, and it'll be in enough of trouble if anyone finds out of what I've already let slip. Come on. Naruto goaded her with an infectious grin. We're comrades, aren't we? You can trust us. This is Shikura's son, remember? Shikaku. Shikamaru corrected him with visible annoyance. Right. It's just that I prefer Shikuru. Shikaku reminds me of Shukaku, and he's one mean son of a. I get it. Right, Naruto said again. Shiho giggled. From the sound of it and her expression, it wasn't something she did often. You two are quite the pair. I suppose I can show you what's below. I hope Gekon-sensei won't mind. We don't get much company. Naruto looked to Shikamaru and nodded. They followed Shiho as she led the way down past the staircases and elevators to an secluded area of the warehouse. Shiho looked around. Finding no one close, she turned back to the wall and formed a ram hand seal to channel her chakra before she placed her palm against the concrete. Immediately hairline cracks shone a vibrant blue in the wall gave away as Shiho passed through it, followed shortly by the pair of Chunin behind her as they shared brief looks of suspicion. Minutes later they stopped before huge double doors wrought from thick gray steel. It was somewhat grimy and looked as if it hadn't been attended to a while. Next to it was a computer console where one would have to input the password to gain entry. Please don't wander around inside, it can be very dangerous. Shiho turned around as she said. The seriousness that tried to convey was somewhat stinted by the odd pair of glasses she wore. Do you understand? I am not supposed to be showing around anyone who isn't authorized. Naruto and Shikamaru exchanged glances again. Sure. Shiho turned back to the gray blast doors in the computer console. Would you look away, please? A quick glance over her shoulder put her concerns to rest as Naruto and Shikamaru covered their eyes. One can never be too certain with shinobi, no offense. None taken. Naruto thumbed towards Shikamaru. What he said. A series of beeping tones sounded as Shiho punched in the code on the console, followed by the audible groaning of metal as the doors parted and blinding light broke through the cracks in the dark cavern like part of Armory administration building. Welcome to Floor Zero. The real Floor Zero. Shiho smiled at her new companions. Follow me, and follow they did. As Shiho walked through the door in a large spacious area filled with many desks and high-tech equipment scattered around on benches and pinned against walls. Only two of us work down here, Shiho explained. When I was 8, I noticed my sensei snuck a hidden IQ test in my homework. You've had this special piece of homework too, right? Shikamaru nodded. Everyone did, actually. I was the only one to figure out it was an IQ test though. So was I, Shiho beamed. I noticed the test was odd and somewhat illogical, so I went to my sensei and she revealed to me I was the only one that noticed it was an IQ test. They diagnosed mine to be 213 and offered me the chance to graduate early. Why do you take it? Didn't you miss your friends at all? Naruto asked. Shiho gave an awkward shrug. I didn't have any friends, nor was I talented in any form of shinobi combat. The only reason I enrolled was because my parents wanted me to, so I took it and became a scientist for Konoha. I was never much of a fighter to begin with. What is it you do down here? Naruto stopped by a workbench to pick up what seemed to be an ordinary singular piece of makibishi. You guys handle the equip. Don't touch that. Shiho slapped away his hand and sighed, checking up on the lone piece of makibishi with a careful eye. These aren't regular caltrops, they're explosives. They serve as landmines on the battlefield, rather than just hinder the enemy. Sounds great. Naruto's eye wandered to a lone wakizashi. What does that do? It carries a launching mechanism for a new type of ninja wire. Can we please keep moving? Gekon-sensei will get really upset if he catches us messing with his work, Shiho warned. Come, I'll show you where I work. I don't have as much expertise as Gekon-sensei, so I am usually left to test out the smaller stuff like this. Shiho held up the small parcel she'd been carrying. So this Gekon-sensei has created all of this? Naruto let out a lengthy whistle. That's impressive. Oh, no, we don't invent all of these. We just test them and write up reports which determine whether they'll be used in combat or not. Shiho stopped by the far end of the spacious room and stooped by her desk. This is where I work. Today I'll be writing up a report on this device. Shiho placed the parcel on her desk and pulled up her chair. Naruto eyed the parcel as Shiho unwrapped it carefully. What's this do? It's a chakra sensor, Shiho replied. With a simple point and click, this little thing will gauge the chakra emitted from any person, weapon or even seal. They can be quite useful when looking for booby traps out in the battlefield. How do you know it works? You ask a lot of questions, Uzumaki-san. Sorry. No, don't apologize. Shiho smiled again. I actually quite enjoy the attention. It's nice. The oddball genius held up the small metallic device in front Naruto and showed him the display screen. All these small stripes work like a graph. The lower the chakra emitted, the more this arrow, she tapped the screen for emphasis, will lean on the left. For example, do you have an exploding tag on you? Yeah, sure. Naruto dove into his pouch attached to the small of his back by a utility belt and withdrew a single exploding tag. Here. Shiho placed the tag on an unusual-looking slab of material on her desk and then pointed the chakra sensor device's antenna to the tag. Now we press this button and, there we have it. She held up the display again for the two to see. Pretty impressive, huh? It is. Shikamaru nodded. You said it could gauge person's chakra too, right? The shadow user raised an eyebrow at his blonde-haired teammate, which went unnoticed. Could you please? Of course. Shiho was eager to please and raised the device to Shikamaru. Let's see what you got. Actually, I meant it appears your chakra reservoir is average, Shiho declared. Shikamaru sighed. Thank you. Now let's try you, Uzumaki-san. Shiho said with an exciting tone. You seem energetic. I am sure you'll do great. Naruto held up his hand and shook his head. No, I'd rather not. Too late now, Naruto. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed at the device in Shiho's hand. Incredible. Shiho exclaimed. At first glance it jumped to extremely high levels and it's not stopping. The device screeched and its lights began to blink erratically for a moment before it failed altogether and the device imploded, prompting Shiho to drop it on her desk. Unbelievable. Naruto rubbed the back of his head nervously. The damage already done. Well, you knew I could do the cage bunshin, so why did you even bother checking? I am too curious for my own good. Shiho appeared as if was about to burst in tears. Gekon-sensei is going to be so upset. Who's going to be upset? A new voice demanded. The voice belonged to an elderly man with gray beard, unhealthily looking gray skin with oversized goggles, wearing a white lab coat over his brown tunic. Shiho, who are these two? Gekon-sensei. What are you doing, Shiho? Gekon demanded as he approached them in hobbling fashion, raising his cane to the pair of Chunin. Chunin, as Tokubetsu Jonin I outrank you, state your names and registration codes. Uzumaki Naruto, registration code 012607, Nara Shikamaru, registration code 012611, 4. Gekon hobbled closer and poked Naruto in the chest with a suspicious glance at Shikamaru. You are related to Nara Shikaku, his son if I am not mistaken. Shikamaru nodded to this. I requested to pull you out of academy around the same time as Shiho but your father refused. How short-sighted of him. You would have done some good down here, don't get me wrong. Your father is a brilliant man and an excellent shogi player but he made a mistake refusing to let you come down here. Gekon was not interested in hearing the response and turned his eye to Naruto. And you, Uzumaki Naruto the... Gekon glanced at both Shiho and Shikamaru for a moment. Infamous prankster of Konoha. I've heard of many of your exploits. What you did with the Hokage monument. Priceless. That old fart Hiruzen couldn't stop laughing about it the last time he was here. Thank you. Once again his reply went unheard. Shiho. What are these two doing down here? You know this place is a secret. Again the scientist gave no time for response. You two best not tell anyone or well I'll be in big trouble. Now get out. Let's go. Naruto. Right. As the pair walked away to leave, Shiho turned to Gekon and said in a rather hurried excitement. Gekon-sensei. Uzumaki-san broke the new chakra sensor. His chakra levels must be enormous. Please allow me to run some tests so I can take notes. You two, stop. Gekon pulled his beard many times as he grumbled. Uzumaki, did you truly break this prototype device? Gekon gestured to the broken device with his cane to which Naruto nodded. Right then, you're not going anywhere. Naruto groaned audibly. You've got to be kidding me. Sometime later. Are we done yet? No, now be silent boy. Shikamaru watched with idle amusement as Naruto sat down at a table, shirtless and with many wires attached to his torso and temples whilst Gekon ran tests with several other devices. Don't complain Naruto, it's least we can do for coming down here. We? Naruto repeated. You're just standing there and ouch. Put down that cane old man. I have no trouble with beating on the elderly. Ouch. Stop it. Be silent, boy. Gekon struck the blonde on his head with his cane again. We're almost done. Now be silent or I'll make Shiho give you a physical. Gekon-sensei. Shiho's face turned completely red. It wasn't a far stretch from the constant blush she had with a shirtless Naruto around. In a vain attempt to stop ogling the blonde, the young genius examined Naruto's unusual gear. This flak jacket is very unusual, Uzumaki-san. It's heavier and more durable than the one I have at home, plus it has these shoulder guards you don't see on the other models. That flak is from before your time, Shiho, Gekon told her, keeping his eyes fixated on the devices before him. That's a first-generation flak. I have one, as would most shinobi my age. They were preceded by the armor shinobi such as the Shodem and Nidem used to wear in combat. 5. Where did you get such an incredible memento, Uzumaki-san? The old man gave it to me as a present. Naruto pointed towards the tanto attached to flak jacket. The tanto is from the same era, I think. They both belong to Gigi. Ouch. Stop hitting me with that cane. Then stop moving, you insolent child. Gekon struck Naruto again just as Shiho pulled the tanto out of its sheath. Incredible. This tanto is undoubtedly very old, but you can see it's been kept in pristine conditioning. Shiho marveled over the ninja dagger, running a hand over its smooth metal. The guard has something inscribed on it. It does? Naruto raised an eyebrow, only to be struck again. I didn't move. I apologize. Gekon was completely unrepentant. This is just so much fun, he admitted with a croaky laugh. Naruto looked as he was about to murder the old man. What does it say? Shikamaru asked. It says the will of fire shall illuminate the village. Gekon finished. It's a saying the Shodai used to say a lot. Hiruzen was always a sucker for that one. How do you know it's Gigi's? Naruto asked, and force once Gekon did not strike him for moving. We talk. Gekon replied vaguely. Now then, looks like we're done here. No sooner had he said it, had Naruto taken off the patches, rushed past Shiho to grab his gear and rushed past Shikamaru to drag him out of the room. Well, come by to visit later, Shiho-chan. Why that insolent little Gekon-sensei. I am telling you that old man is batshit crazy, Shika. He must be hit me at least 50 times. Naruto said as they walked down the street, still fiddling with his jackets and pouches. Hey, wait a minute. Naruto reached into his pouch having felt an odd weight in it and held up a package of explosive makibishi. Shiho-chan, you're awesome. She snuck those in while Gekon was running tests on you, Shikamaru said. Well, thanks for telling me. What if I slipped and fell, huh? It'd be splattered all of the damn place. Shikamaru shrugged, unrepentant. I hate you.
They don't work like that. You need to actually hold them before you scatter them, so you can key your chakra to them. Only a significant force like a footstep will trigger them to go off. That or if you just detonate them by channeling your chakra, they work just like exploding tags that way.
And when did she tell you all this? While Gekon-san was beating you up. You tell anyone that happened and it'll kill you. Who's going to want me as Hokage if they found out an old man beat the shit out of me for an hour straight? Nobody, that's who. You seem to care a lot about what people think of you. Old habits die hard, Naruto grumbled under his breath. What? Naruto got an agitated look in his face. Of course I do. I am going to be the Hokage someday, Eren. The people actually need to respect me if I am going to realize my dream, genius? Right. Ah, screw you. I am going to train. With that, Naruto took off to the nearest training ground. Shikamaru simply shrugged and went his own way. Ew. A few hours later Naruto headed back home from the training ground after spending a good few hours on getting down some ninjutsu. With the help of the Kage Bunshin he had gotten down a few simple fire jutsu after realizing he had more or less neglected that element. Though covered in sweat and dirt with a great sense of fatigue, Naruto felt good about himself. He reckoned he could probably destroy the Naruto from a few weeks ago within seconds. He had certainly branched out his ninjutsu like the old man had advised him and now knew at least 5 jutsu of each element. The Shuriken Kage Bunshin and its kunai variation as well as one of his new favorite techniques, the exploding shadow clone. His genjutsu was still rather limited but he would brush up on that in due time. On his way home Naruto stopped by the grocery store. Minutes later he walked out of the small establishment though he didn't get far before a familiar voice called to him. Naruto. Naruto turned around and saw Sakura waving from a distance. Sakura-chan. It only now just hit him how long he hadn't seen his old teammate. It had been a month since he last saw her. Sasuke and Kakashi. What have you been up to? We just got back from a mission to a village not far from here. Just a simple escort mission. Nothing too difficult. Sakura prodded the blonde with her elbow as they began walking further down the road. What about you? You're a hotshot chunin now, aren't you? It must be very excited leading your own team. I am still a rookie, so I won't be leading my own team for a while, Sakura-chan, Naruto told her. As for my team, well, I am stuck with Shikamaru. A girl as cold as ice, a perverted swordsman and a team leader with a knack for explosions and a giant stick up his ass. Trouble in paradise. Sakura cheekily quipped. What makes you think being a chunin is paradise in the first place? Naruto asked with a shake of his head. It's mostly scout missions and running errands for rookies like me. To be perfectly honest, I am really starting to miss you guys, even Sasuke. Sakura smiled kindly as they both felt a wave of nostalgia. So, this team leader of yours doesn't like you, does he? It borderlines on hatred, Naruto replied. Oh, it can't be that bad. Sakura firmly shook her head decisively. You always seem to bring the best out of people, Naruto, so give it some time and hell come around, they all will. Naruto was taken aback by that for a moment. Sakura was never this nice to him before. Maybe it was the nostalgia in the air. Maybe she'd done some growing up of her own in the last few weeks, or maybe it was that Naruto had finally earned her respect after saving her from Gaara. Well, thanks, Sakura-chan. That means a lot to me coming from you. Don't mention it, Naruto. They fell silent for the next few minutes as they walked side by side down the road. It wasn't until Sakura's route home took her right his straight on when they stopped. See ya, Sakura-chan, it's been nice catching up. Yeah, you too. Naruto held up his hand in greeting, waving over his shoulder as he continued his path to the apartment. Naruto. The blonde turned around with a quizzical expression. What is it, Sakura-chan? I never got the chance to thank you properly for saving me. Judging by her expression, Naruto could tell how this had been eating at her for a while now, so, I wanted to say thank you. Don't mention it, Sakura-chan. You would have done the same for me. Naruto smiled at her reassuringly. It wasn't until Sakura was left to her own devices, she sighed with a sense of frustration. That's the thing, Naruto. I don't think I would've. I am just so weak. The week of downtime went by quicker than Naruto had expected or appreciated. For the most part their missions could be done within a few minutes with the right amount of teamwork, but with Naruto and Shikamaru being rookies and Sarugaku not particularly liking either of them, they were left to the majority of the work whilst the other three took it easy. Luckily for Naruto though, he usually managed to finish sooner than they did with his Kage Bunshin technique and thus would be off to the training grounds early whilst his army of Kage Bunshin took care of his and Shikamaru's workload. On their last day of the downtime, Sarugaku had taken it to himself to devise a training course with his sabotage and trap-setting expertise. Currently, they were going a border patrol simulated mission and were shifting through formations as contraptions created by Sarugaku set off and launched projectiles at them. Formation D4, keep moving. Sarugaku shouted, his hands in the ram hand seal. A strange contraption that oddly resembled a giant catapult sling hybrid launched a volley of shuriken towards Naruto, Shikamaru, Hayase and Rei. Naruto shifted forward with two kunai held in reverse grip and deflected the projectiles coming his and Ri's direction, who as their medic had to be protected at all times. Sarugaku ran next to the team on ground level as they continued to hop from branch to branch. Good. Now, move to formation A5. In the distance, Sarugaku had strategically placed straw dolls with crudely carved Iwa headbands as though they were going to ambush them. Naruto threw a volley of kunai and struck 3 down whilst he continued to defend Rei, being charged with her guard. It was extremely boring compared to Hayase's role of main offense as he was considered the strongest on their team by their TL. Hayase did an unnecessary front flip as he threw 2 handfuls of shuriken. Naruto, despite himself, had to admit that was kind of cool. He's an cocky bastard but he's got skill. Naruto thought as the senior Chunin deflected an entire volley of kunai by himself with but one of his dual kodachi. Hayase, deflate your ego. Allow Nara and Uzumaki to help you deflect projectiles. You're going to miss 1 or 2 at some point and that can result in death or injury. You know that is unacceptable. For all his faults, Sarugaku knew what he was talking about. They shared a bond of mutual dislike. Naruto knew their TL was at least competent, even if he regarded Naruto as nothing but a talentless and insubordinate braggart. It'll be fine. Hayase shouted back. It was just as he said it when another volley came their way, quicker than before, and Hayase failed to act on time. However, Naruto's instincts kicked in and within seconds, he grabbed onto Ri's blow and flung her towards Shikamaru who barely caught her. Thrust out his palms in front of him with chakra racing down his arms. Futon. Repusho. The wind blasted from his hands and launched Naruto backwards with incredible force, completely blasting the lethal projectiles off course. Naruto spun violently through the air, and grunted as he broke through a thick branch, but he recovered and flipped whilst midair and planted his feet firmly against a tree. Luckily the thick body armor of his flak jacket took the brunt of the damage. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed only momentarily. He didn't need his IQ of over 200 to realize Naruto had changed a lot in the way he carried himself and acted, but he hadn't anticipated witnessing a new jutsu so soon, considering it had barely been a month since they got promoted. Regardless, the shadow user smiled lazily at the blonde and gave him thumbs up. Nice one. Naruto. Rei was his side instantly and reached for field kit. Naruto held up his hand, noting with some curiosity Rei had called him by his first name for the first time. I am fine, don't worry about it. You're bleeding. Rei pulled his hand closer to examine the piece of wood lodged into his forearm. We need to treat this. A few inches down and it would have spliced an artery. Naruto grimaced. The wound was about to close up seamlessly before her eyes any second now, if only he had a means of distracting her. Uzumaki. How did you do that? For once, Naruto was glad Sarugaku was such an ass. What are you talking about? Your file didn't say anything about you being able to perform such techniques. Explain yourself. Sarugaku demanded loudly, giving Naruto an opportunity to withdraw his hand from Ri's absent-minded grip. Rei glared at the team leader. Sarugaku Taicho. What does it matter? He saved us both doing it and got injured. There's a lot I can do that isn't in that file you got on me. Sarugaku senpai. Naruto took great pleasure in the look of outrage in Sarugaka's face. Maybe if you took the time to properly assess me instead of dismissing me as a no-good troublemaker from day one, you would know what I am capable of. Did you know about this? Sarugaku barked at Shikamaru. The shadow user calmly shook his head. This is the first time I've seen him perform any elemental ninjutsu. He usually sticks to taijutsu and Rei. Tend to Uzumaki's wound and patch him up. I want to see what else he's capable of. Sarugaku Taicho. Sarugaku matched her glare with his own. Rei. I will not tolerate any insubordination on my team. You have your orders. It's a work in progress. Naruto lied. He sure as hell was not going to have a show and tell and show his teammates all of his jutsu. The cage bunshin training method, as absolute torturous the mental fatigue was an incredible way of learning new jutsu. In the few hours Naruto could scrape together to train between missions, he had learned quite a few, with well over 3,000 hours of work divided amongst ninjutsu, fuinjutsu and even a little on genjutsu. Naruto was also starting to get the hang of chakra control applications, such as straightening metal, and his chakra control overall have improved because of it. This train of thought got him thinking, I should try a hand at summoning Gamabunta in one go. It usually takes me a few tries, but I am sure I'll get the hang of it. I am just glad you were on top of your game there, Uzumaki. Hayase scratched his cheek. I am always on top of my game. Naruto shot back. Sarugaku opened his mouth to speak again, but Shikamaru got their attention. Guys, the shadow user spoke, idly staring to the sky. I think we're going to have to cut training short. It looks like we've been called for a mission. Naruto looked up into the sky and found a messenger hawk circling above them, cawing loudly as it waited for one of them to stretch out their arm. The bird perched on Sarugaka's wrist moments later and held out its leg to the Chunin. Sarugaku took the mission scroll of the bird and unfurled it as the hawk took off. A few moments of silence went by as Sarugaku read the scroll, the rest eyeing him intently and waiting for him to fill them in. When Sarugaku spoke, his voice was audibly shaking with excitement. It seems we have been called for a special mission ordered to us directly by our platoon leader. Sarugaku told them. The report we sent in has set off some flags, and we've been ordered to set out for Tanzakugai immediately. What, Tanzakugai? Hayase repeated. Yes, the police force of Tanzakugai may have been fudging the paperwork in regards to criminality. The 3 Kuroda Gumi corpses we found turned out to be the bosses of the Kuroda Gumi. Yet there was not a single report about their disappearances or deaths. We've been tasked to investigate the matter. Sarugaki smirked. This is a B-ranked mission. Naruto was relieved it wouldn't be straight back to scouting missions. Sarugaku rolled up the scroll with a serious expression, frowning slightly. The sun is already going down, so we'll have to move quickly. We will meet at the northern gate in 30 minutes. Pack for at least a week. Dismissed. Sarugaku, Hayase and Rei promptly disappeared with Shunshins, leaving Naruto and Shikamaru in the training ground. We really need to learn that jutsu. Anyway, I'll see you at the gate, Shika. What about your arm? Naruto waved off his concerns with a shrug. It's fine, don't worry about it. The shadow user shrugged. Suit yourself, I'll see you there. Naruto gave no response and immediately took off into his own direction. Team 312 wasted no time in assembling at the northern gate and embarking on their journey to the city of Tanzakugai. Naruto had never been there before. All he ever knew was Konoha, and until recently Nami no Kuni. Scout rotation didn't leave much time for sightseeing either. It was pretty much scout point A to point B and keep an eye out for anything or anyone suspicious. Occasionally they had a few parcels to deliver here and there, but that was always on a tight schedule. It didn't leave Naruto with a lot of time to explore the beautiful countryside of Hai no Kuni, and this was no different. Just a few hours ago a messenger hawk delivered their mission assignment. They were tasked with investigating the Tanzakugai criminal underworld, and by implication, the police force as well. Naruto had never been on an investigation mission. To him it actually sounded pretty strange for a shinobi to be tasked with a task such as this, but then again it also made sense. Shinobi were trained in subtlety and information gathering. If anything, they were perfect for investigations like these. Alright, we're here, Sarugaku announced, landing in a crouch and holding up his fist to signal this team to stop. Let's break for camp. The sun is about to set. Hayase and I will go scout the area while you 3 set up our campsite. Nakamura, you're in charge. We'll be back in an hour. Rei nodded. Understood. Sarugaku Taicho. The kunoichi turned to her fellow rookies. You 2 set up camp and gather firewood while I raise a genjutsu layer to hide our presence. Once we get a fire going, we can eat. I've packed enough pre-made meals for all of us, so feel free to ask. I am good. Naruto dropped his backpack under a tree and reached for one of the shovels. Rei passed them. Alright, don't slack off, Shikamaru. Don't even think of making me do all the work. Why not? Naruto shot him an annoyed look, exasperated with the genius' perpetual slothfulness. Why would I do all the work? The shadow user shrugged, because you can use your clones to do your work for you, he offered in a rhetoric manner. Right, I knew that. Naruto tucked the shovel under his elbow and made an unusual hand seal. Ray raised an eyebrow at Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Poof. Ray did a double take as 6 identical Naruto clones appeared with pillars of smoke and went to work, chastising the original for being a lazy bastard. Shikamaru couldn't help but laugh as Naruto picked a fight with one of his clones who made the offhanded comment. How did you that? Those are solid clones. Ray looked at Naruto and then Shikamaru with a demanding expression. Naruto looked at Shikamaru. What? Don't look at me. The fact you're able to create Kage Bunshin is still an impressive feat, Naruto. Shikamaru shrugged, plopped down on the ground and got comfy. Those are Kage Bunshin. Ray was wide-eyed as though she couldn't believe what she was hearing. That's a B-ranked kinjutsu. How in the hell are you able to create so many? Shikamaru smiled at that, earning him a scowl from Ray. Sorry, Nakamura-san, but 6 Kage Bunshin aren't a lot, not by Naruto's standards. What do you mean? Naruto rubbed a finger under his nose in a childish show of conceitedness. Let's just say this is only a fraction of what I can do. Ray shook her head, refusing to believe it. No way. It was odd to see her lose her composure, even after knowing her only for a few weeks. Naruto saw Ray as the cool type who was never fazed by what anyone thought or did, evidently in her indifference towards Heiei's frequent tales of one-night stands. A fraction of are you out of your mind? Definitely. Shikamaru shrugged with indifference, but he's not lying. For a moment Ri's expression went blank, then a frown came to her face and she glared at Naruto. Just do as you're told, Uzumaki. The kunoichi promptly turned around and walked off, leaving a stunned Naruto look at Shikamaru with confusion. Okay. What did I say? Shikamaru shrugged uncaringly and yawned. I am not an expert on women, Naruto. The shadow user washed his hands of the matter and stretched out on his sleeping bags, looking up into the sky. Take it easy. Girls aren't meant for us to understand anyway. She'll come around on her own terms, probably. You're a strange one, Shikamaru. Naruto rolled out his own sleeping bag and lied down as his clones gave him dirty looks and some even made derogative comments. I need to figure out how to control these idiots. We heard that, 6 different voices said in his mind, prompting Naruto yelp and jump up. Okay, if you guys want to take this outside, bring it. Naruto's eye twitched as one of his clones gave him the finger and stuck out its tongue. We are outside, you moron. Why does he get to be the original? So not fair.
Shikamaru began chuckled as the clones set off into 6 separate directions to collect firewood. Naruto shook his head, his hand in the serpent hand seal for a moment before he gripped the earth beneath his feet, gripping onto it as he created a dug-in area large enough for them to set up camp. Satisfied with his handiwork, Naruto got off his knee and clapped the dirt of his hands. That ought to do it.
The next day in the early morning, Naruto crawled out of his sleeping bag, nose twitching to the delightful aroma of breakfast that stirred him out of slumber. He poured some water in his hands from his canteen and washed his face, getting the dirt out of his eyes and yawned. Good, you're awake. Naruto blinked a few times to get the drowsiness out of his system. He hadn't even noticed Ray as she sat down by a fire and was preparing their breakfast. Naruto shuddered. The last time he had breakfast in a forest was during the second stage of the Chunin exams and that had certainly not gone well. Barely. Naruto yawned. Naruto reached into his backpack, sat next to his sleeping bag and retrieved his flak jacket. He was somewhat cold in the chill morning breeze. Your flak jacket is different from ours. Why is that? Ray asked curiously as she offered him a can of nutritious supplements. We don't have shoulder pads like you do, and yours seems heavier. Why is that? She asked again. Naruto spooned a mouthful, sat down opposite her. It's a gift from the old man. Old man. Naruto chuckled. Not many people understood who he was referring to when he said that. Hokage-sama. He said it as though the title was humorous rather than belonging to one of the greatest shinobi to have ever lived. He gave me his tanto too. Naruto swiftly reached for the small of his back and unsheathed the dagger and held it out for Ray to examine. Hokage-sama gave this to you. Ray sounded both envious and disbelieving at the same time, though Naruto couldn't quite blame her. Not many would have believed him. This tanto is different from ours. It's got a curvier edge and it looks like it's been through a lot of battles like your flak. That's cause they were the old mons when he was a chunin, like a century ago. The joke went unnoticed as Ri's eyes widened and her grip on the dagger's handle tightened. If you don't believe me, it's fine. No, I believe you, Uzumaki. Naruto. Just call me Naruto. I am not big on formality. Ray gave him a comical deadpan stare as she handed him back the tanto. That much was obvious from day one. Naruto chuckled. I make up for it with charm. No, you don't. Naruto hung his head, feigning to be crestfallen and getting a laugh out of Ray, in which he joined her. I want to apologize for being so cold to you lately. Ray seemed somewhat uncomfortable with the apology. I was a little jealous. I suppose I am just easily intimidated by geniuses like you. Naruto burst out laughing and cupped his mouth with both hands to keep it down. Reese glared at him, but Naruto found it hard to stop laughing and only stopped when she punched him in a painful spot on his arm. Ouch. Naruto rubbed his arm. What's so funny? Naruto frowned. That had hurt. It's funny you think I am a genius. Reese's glare intensified and she bristled. You're able to use at least one strong futon jutsu and a B-ranked kinjutsu with ease, both of which you treat as though they're the mere tip of the iceberg. Then there's the fact you somehow beat Hyuga Neji and you claim to have beaten Sasuke's opponent, Sabaku no Gaara, as well as Momochi Zabuza. Coming around to that. Ray gave an icy glare and Naruto gave a shrug in return. He had stopped caring whether or not they believed him weeks ago, figuring they would come to know the truth in due time. Unsurprisingly, Ray was first. For the record, I did do those things except for Zabuza. He was toying with me and Sasuke the whole time. That guy was on a completely different level. Luckily we had Kakashi-sensei with us, or we would have been dead long before we got to the Chunin exams. Naruto felt a wave of nostalgia. He sure did miss his old team, and to be completely honest, I only managed to beat Zabuza's apprentice because Sasuke saved my life for the 100th time. The son of a bitch. Naruto inhaled the remains of his food in mere seconds, much to the visible disgust of Ray, and got up, dusting off his trousers. How does that not make you a genius if you've already accomplished so much? Naruto looked at Ray with a serious expression, a stark contrast to his usual demeanor. I accomplish those things because I work my ass off. It doesn't come easy to me, Ray-chan. It never has. All those things I accomplished because I train all day, every day. Ray-chan? She repeated. Naruto chuckled. I am not even particularly smart. I just make up for it with guts and instincts. I guess when it comes down to it, that's all you really need, guts and instincts. You can have all the talent in the world, but that means nothing if you don't have the guts and instincts to use it. A few choice words Naruto had heard once came to mind and he grinned at her. Maybe, if I ever could dream of applying that label to me, I am a fighting genius. Ray was stunned by the declaration, though she was saved from giving an answer as Heiei sat up mechanically to the scent of food. What's for grub? A while later they stood by the outskirts of the city. Sarugaku gathered them around and gave one of his patented coughs to draw their attention. Okay. We're about to enter the city. Well, split up here for the time being, Sarugaku decided. I am going to the police force headquarters to give them notice of our mission assignment. Heiei and Nakamura, you two keep an eye at the market district. Nara and Uzumaki, I am placing you by the casinos. Neither of you seem to be the gambling type, so I expect you to behave and stay away from the slot machines. Any questions? Ray seemed utterly displeased with her assigned partner but made no comment. Naruto on the other hand didn't really care. He got along with Heiei just fine, though he wasn't about to volunteer to take him off her hands. Remember to stay vigilant and report your location every 15 minutes. Sarugaku tapped the headset attached to his neck. Don't draw attention. Just mingle in the crowds. If you see any suspicious behavior, radio in before you do anything. Understood, they replied simultaneously. Tanzakugai. Naruto and Shikamaru made their way through the crowds in the city, brushing past civilians as they patrolled the city of Tanzakugai. The city was unlike anything Naruto had imagined. It was very different from Konoha. There were lights, cables and neon signs everywhere, which would illuminate the city during the night. The roads were somewhat smaller, but much more crowded with people of all kinds. The occasional beast of burden pulled by with wares to be sold by its master. There were more beggars on the street than he had encountered in Wave Country, some of whom were smoking from pipes that gave off disgusting fumes. Opium, Shikamaru said with a curl of his nose, and right on the streets. What exactly is the police force doing? Naruto was somewhat surprised. Not even the occasional policeman they saw on the street seemed bothered by it. In fact, Naruto could have sworn the few pipes he had seen a few policemen smoke pipes that probably did not contain tobacco. Naruto frowned as they stopped by a stall. He paid the vendor a handful of golden Ryo coins and bought a few dango sticks settled in a row on a disposal paper plate, one of which he passed on one to Shikamaru. Any idea what to look for? Aside from the opium addicts and the policemen that ignore them? Troublesome. Shikamaru obviously wasn't helping and he shrugged. Sarugaku said to keep an eye out for anyone suspicious. Naruto looked around as they walked. Anyone suspicious? That pretty much fits the description for most of the people here. They continued to explore the city for a while, mostly walking back and forth by the casinos and calling in their position and status over the radio every 15 minutes. It was almost an hour later when a loud commotion nearby alerted them. Look where the fuck you're going. Naruto looked at Shikamaru and nodded. Setting off to see what was going on. Upon arriving, Naruto saw a tall man in an expensive-looking suit and stained but otherwise stylish trench coat hoisting another man foot above ground. A child holding an empty ice cream cone was standing close by, crying her eyes out as her father was getting beaten up, surrounded by another few thugs and scared civilians. The thug kicked the man, leveling him off the ground and sending him crashing into a vendor's cart. "Look what you did to my suit. This thing cost me 5,000 ryo. How are you going to pay for it, eh?" The ringleader's thugs rushed over to the downed victim and began to repeatedly pummel him as his child began to cry her eyes out. "Oh my god. Someone should help him. I am calling the police." One would-be whistleblower was punched in the face as he tried to run in the opposite direction and was dragged to the floor where he, too, was beaten viciously by thugs as they kicked and pounded on him. Naruto was about to step in when Shikamaru grabbed his elbow. "Hold on, we need to call back up," the shadow user told him. He then pressed the radio attached around his neck and called for help. "This is Nara. We've got trouble in the casino district and it's looking pretty ugly." "Nakamura here, Nara. Well, be right there. So am I. The police lieutenant with me has already dispatched a few officers," Sarugaku added through the radio a second later. Naruto gritted his teeth as one of the thugs proceeded to rob the man off wallet and offer the cash to the ringleader. The leader counted the money and by the look of his angered expression, the amount was insufficient. With but a mere nod to one of his thugs, they all reached for their swords. "Shikamaru." Naruto growled at his partner, clenching his fists and gritting his teeth as the thugs held up their bloodied and bruised victim on his knees for public execution. "Shikamaru. Go." Naruto didn't need to be told twice and dashed forward just as one of the thugs raised his blade and brought it down for a decapitating stroke. Naruto was faster and deflected the blade with his tanto with an icy expression on his face. Clang. "What the fuck?" Naruto's nose flared with the disgusting stench of cheap liquor and tobacco smoke as he entered a stalemate with the sword-brandishing thug. Holding his tanto in a reverse grip, Naruto easily overpowered the thug, with his tanto in one hand as he reared back his right hand for a palm thrust under his left arm. Repusho. The powerful blast of wind hurled the man off his feet and launched him into a stall. Naruto instantly turned around and swung his tanto-wielding fist backwards in his would-be attacker's face, causing him to fly into another comrade and knocking them both out. Crack. Just as Naruto turned around, he found himself staring a massive earth-encrusted fist. A split second before it smashed into his face and sent him crashing through a wall. Naruto's head was spinning as he found himself lying on dinner table in restaurant, of which all the patrons fled outside. "Ah, hi there," he said to the attractive brunette whose meal he had interrupted as he looked up. "Yeah, you should probably get out while you still can." And get out she did, as though the devil himself was after her. Naruto got out of the wreckage that had once been a booth in the expensive-looking restaurant as the woman hightailed out of there. The wall he came crash through gave away and the tall, trench coat-wearing man stormed inside. "Do you know who you're fucking with? I am Gantetsu, a captain of Kuroda Gumi." Gantetsu was incredibly tall, easily standing at 67, wearing an all-white, expensive-looking, and stained, high-collar trench coat, over a yellow shirt and blue tie. The Yakuza's right hand was still encrusted in jagged rock, making it bigger than Naruto's head. "A Konoha nin?" Gantetsu seemed genuinely surprised for a moment, but then his gaze turned into a snarl. "I thought we had a fucking deal. It doesn't matter, it's your funeral. Just remember, I am not some low-life thug. I was an elite chunin back in Iwa, so prepare yourself for death." Blood ran down the side of Naruto's face. It stung his eyes but he kept them open. Another one of those hit and he would probably pass out and then he'd really be in trouble. "What do you mean, we had a deal?" Gantetsu wasn't interested in answering that question. Growling like the monster he was as with a mere flex of his muscles his entire body was covered in a thick earthy crust. Not good. Naruto as Gantetsu decided to rush forward with his gigantic earth-covered hand. Naruto flipped backwards onto the table and continued to perform a series of acrobatic flips to avoid the rampaging rogue shinobi/Yakuza boss. Naruto made a tiger hand seal and drew a deep breath, his chest swelling up significantly as he prepared a fire jutsu. The stream of fire never erupted his mouth however as Gantetsu proved to be considerably faster than he appeared and grabbed Naruto's face in his gigantic hand, cancelling out the jutsu. "Eat this." The Yakuza boss slammed Naruto into the ground. A satisfying crack indicated some broken bones, confirmed by Naruto's scream of pain as a powerful sensation coursed through him. "This is what you get for interfering with our affairs, Konoha dog." Gantetsu reared back his left hand and it shifted into an even bigger earth fist as the Iwa rogue held Naruto by the neck with his right. His earth-crusted hand was so large it covered most of the blonde's torso. Kengan no Jutsu. Naruto narrowly avoided the attack, forcing an enormous amount of chakra through his body to pull off a shunshin fast enough to ensure he avoids certain death. His escape did not come without a price tag, however, as the muscle fatigue slowed his reaction and allowed Gentetsu to land a glancing hit as the floor he had just vacated exploded in a rain of earth spikes, of which one nicked him in the arm. Naruto grunted but persevered, reacting on pure instincts as he withdrew a flash tag and lodged in the ceiling. Arg. Fortunately, Gentetsu's height made him an easy target, and the blinding light set off by the flash tag bought Naruto some time. The blonde jumped up and planted his feet on the ceiling as Gentetsu continued to go berserk and literally run down the walls in the restaurant. Unable to find his prey, Naruto exhaled a deep, thankful of the Kyuubi as his dislocated shoulder popped back into its socket on its own accord. That Kengan Jutsu, it's supposed to be an Iwagakure Jutsu, isn't it? It was one of those rare moments Naruto could actually recall something useful from his academy days. Earth is weak to lightning. Fuck. There's only one way to finish this bastard off. Naruto reached into holster and withdrew a lone kunai blade, detaching himself from the ceiling and landing lightly on his feet just about as the giant regained his sight. You little fuck, where are you? Gentetsu shouted. Right here, motherfucker. Naruto threw the kunai at the Yakuza captain just he turned around. Kunai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Midair, the kunai began to multiply at a rapid rate, similar to a body of cells undergoing mitosis. Gentetsu raised his arms in front of him in an X-shaped guard. You'll have to do better than that to pierce my armor, brat. Gentetsu came to regret those words not a second later as he suddenly was blasted back by the unexpected detonation of an exploding tag. Fuck. Though he was largely unscathed, the smoke provided Naruto with enough cover to execute the second step of his plan. With a quick hand seal, a clone popped into existence and made a beeline for Gentetsu, jumping on his back and wrapping its arm and legs around the Iwa Nuke Nin like a boa constrictor just as it began glowing white. Naruto. Shikamaru shouted from the entrance, having dispatched thugs outside. Naruto's eyes widened and set off instantly, emulating his clone and making a beeline for Shikamaru, who he tackled just as the Naruto clone detonated. Shika, get down. Boom. The explosion blasted Naruto and Shikamaru out of the establishment due to their proximity. The restaurant simply collapsed as all its support pillars gave in, causing its structure to completely give away and collapse with a series of earth-shaking tremors. Naruto coughed, completely covered in dust and dirt as he rolled off Shikamaru, whom he had been forced to protect with his body. You alright, Shikamaru? Naruto fell on his behind, breathing heavily. Shikamaru opened his eyes, considerably less covered in dust. Yeah, I am just dandy, he replied sarcastically. Looks like our backup arrived already. It was true. Gentetsu's thugs were being subdued by police forces that outnumbered them, thus quite a few surrendered. Naruto got to his feet just as his teammates arrived. What took you guys so long? We got here as fast as we could, Hayase retorted as he helped up Shikamaru. Then turning to his partner he said, Rei, take a look at their injuries, I'll call Sarugaku. There's no need for that. Their squad leader had just arrived and he didn't look pleased in the slightest as he was accompanied by another policeman with a lieutenant badge embroiled on his blue kimono. Hayate-san explained to me that the new Yakuza in town are led by rogue shinobi from Iwa. We were going to organize a joint mission to take them all out at their compound, but you just went ahead and blew that plan out of the water there, didn't you, Uzumaki? I am so sorry for stopping that bastard executing a man cuz his coat got dirty. Naruto replied sarcastically as Rei gave him a quick look over for injuries. A vein popped up by Sarugaka's cheek and he said coldly, You're a malcontent and a liability to this team, Uzumaki, and it's about time you realize that. Thanks to you those thugs know we're coming for them. Who knows how many of their high-ranked members will go under now. Yeah, it would have looked just fucking fabulous on your record, wouldn't it, Taicho? Naruto spat with venom. You don't actually care about helping anyone here but yourself. As long as you come out smelling like daisies, you don't give a fuck who else stuck in the shit. Sarugaka's nostrils flared. That's enough out of you. Yes, is it? Rei interrupted their tirade at one another. This isn't helping. She gave both of them a hard stare. We need to get our act together and think about what we're doing next. Has anyone actually identified the body? Shit. Naruto looked to Shikamaru and then to the pile of debris that had once been the restaurant. Gentetsu's body wasn't found. It appeared the giant was even quicker than Naruto had thought, or tougher. They didn't know, nor did it truly matter. What mattered was the fact he had gotten away and they had no idea how he did or if he had help. With Gentetsu on the run, the odds were likely he would come back with more of his comrades, and from what Naruto was hearing, it wasn't going to be pretty. Iwa dogs. Always got a backup plan. Hayase noted with a scowl on his face. It reminded Naruto how much Konoha in general hated Iwagakure. He hadn't conformed to the line of thought since he was the one being hated his entire life and blindly hating Iwa or anyone else for that matter, without knowing why. Naruto knew would be hypocritical, even as a child. Team 312 convened in the alley behind the destroyed establishment and were standing in circle as they discussed their next course of action whilst the police force was busy clearing the rubble and taking statements from witnesses. Gentetsu will probably come back with more of his thugs and ringleaders of the Kuroda Gumi. We have no idea when hell dare to show face around here, so we'll have to collaborate even more with the police force. During our fight, he said something about a deal. The way he was talking, it was like we weren't supposed to be here. Isn't that strange? Why wouldn't he expect Konoha Nin to be here when it's so close to Konoha? And you didn't mention this earlier because of what exactly? Sarugaku snapped at him with ire. Naruto didn't even have to say it out loud. It was perfectly clear to the entire team their ambitious squad leader would naturally jump at the chance of revealing corruption at the top of ranks within Tanzakugai's police force. It would do wonders for his career, perhaps even earn him that promotion he had yearned for so long. Naruto shrugged. It was a fair point. There wasn't much he could say to defend himself from not reporting that tidbit of information sooner. Sorry about that. Sorry doesn't cut it. Uzumaki, you're in enough trouble as it is. Don't think for a second I won't report the collateral damage you caused either. Sarugaku told him without so much a hint as sympathy for the situation he had been put in. Hey, that wasn't my fault. Gentetsu did most of the destroying. Shikamaru can testify to that. Naruto gritted his teeth. What the hell was this guy's problem? Since day one he had been nothing but a condescending a-hole to Naruto, but he hadn't expected the guy to be actively out to hurt his career like that. Yes I can, but let's not forget what's important here. Shikamaru once again proved to be the mediator for the pair. If someone's really on their payroll, we need to figure out who it is and quick. Something tells me Gentetsu wasn't lying. The fact they were about to publicly execute a man without so much a hint of fear for reprisals by the police can only mean they've got high-ranking figures on their payroll. Most likely, if they have one of ours on their payroll, they'll have contacts in the police force. Ray nodded. I agree with Nara-san. We should be careful how we conduct this investigation. I think it would be in our best interest if he keep an eye on the police just as much as on thugs. That's impossible. Hayase shook his head. We don't have the manpower for an operation that big. Shikamaru and Ray looked at Naruto, prompting the Chunin to ask, what's that look about? Manpower won't be a problem. I can change my number from 1 to 1,000 if I want to. That's absurd. Not now, Saru. Hayase cut him off. You were saying? He then asked Naruto, you're talking about clones, aren't you? Naruto nodded. Give me a clear area and I'll give you as much manpower as you want. How? Regular Bunshin won't cut it. They're see-through and they're mutes. What's so funny? Naruto made a hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 2 clones appeared on either side of Naruto with identical cocky smirks as Hayase and Sarugaku both did a double take. What the fuck? Hayase exclaimed. That jutsu is forbidden. Sarugaku hissed at Naruto as though he had just witnessed a heinous crime. That kinjutsu. How did you get your hands on it? This wasn't in your file. Sarugaku took a deep breath and then hissed at Naruto. Why wasn't this in your file? Like I said, a lot of things I can do aren't in those files, Naruto replied coolly, taking great pleasure in squashing his team's negative presumptions of him once and for all. And before you decide to add that to the list of charges you'll bring against me, know that I have permission from the Hokage himself to use this jutsu. He claims to be able to create 1,000 of these, Ray informed their squad leader, patting a Naruto clone on the shoulder to feel his solidity. According to Nara, his claim isn't false. It isn't, Naruto confirmed, not taking his eyes off Sarugaku, who was immensely disturbed by the information. Why can't we feel you've got so much chakra? Hayase asked with an underlining tone of doubt. Then again, who could blame him? 1,000 Kage Bunshin was unheard of, and to be told a supposedly dead last, no talent kid like Naruto was capable of such a feat was hard to believe, downright unfathomable even. Naruto shrugged. He didn't truly know the answer to that. I've always known how to suppress my chakra. It just comes naturally to me. Don't ask me why, because I don't know either. It just is. On that notion, Naruto had to wonder if this was a side effect the seal on his stomach that kept the Kyuubi at bay. Jiraiya had mentioned it segregating his chakra from the Cubus, or something like that. Naruto wasn't paying attention at the time. Anyway, are we going to do this Ray-chan's way or what? Shikamaru stifled a bemused chuckle and nodded. I think it's a good idea, though you'll need to make sure you clones don't take the same appearance, Naruto. That won't be a problem. Sarugaku finally regained his composure and cleared his throat to demand their attention. Do it. Well, resume this mission as a team. While your clones look for the targets, well, go see the police representative that gave me these bogus files. Sarugaku held up files that indicated the falsified records of decreased crime. Well, give him a shakedown. See what he has for us. If he cooperates, we can have this mission cleared by tonight and be on our way back by tomorrow. Hayase checked his watch. It's 3 p.m. We need to hurry if we want to wrap this up ASAP. Then let Shikamaru take charge, Naruto suggested, receiving curious looks from all of his teammates, including the perpetually idle Kagemane user. Look, Shikamaru is smarter than all of us combined. You give him a location, a time and numbers and hell give you 50 solid strategies on how to handle the situation. Naruto knew he was exaggerating, though he wasn't sure by how much. Shikamaru was a pretty damn good tactician. I don't want to sound cowardly, but that one guy nearly knocked head off my shoulders. Who knows what kind of types he hangs out with. Shikamaru glanced at Naruto with a nod and then looked at Sarugaku. He makes a point, Sarugaku Taicho. I don't want to usurp you, that would be too troublesome, but if we want this raid executed flawlessly, we should pool our resources. Do it. Though he conceded, Sarugaku didn't seem pleased in the slightest with having to admit to be the inferior tactician by letting Shikamaru take the lead on planning their next course of action. Tanzakugai Police Department, top floor, Ashoku Kaiken enjoyed a comfortable life. At the ripe age of 53, he was married into a wealthy family through his wife. He enjoyed many pleasures in life.
He had money in the bank, a nice house and a beautiful wife amongst a sea of mistresses and even some luxury estates abroad. His sons were prodigious and at top of their class. His eldest had just passed his training and become a full-fledged member of the police force and would one day take his place. His daughters were beautiful and desirable stock for breeding, thus the dowry would further ensure he could enjoy a comfortable life after retirement.
As the chief of Tanzakugai's police force, Ashoku was the most reputable member of the brass, with 5,000 men under his command. Not many of the city's populace dared to bring up any alleged bribe-taking or corruption charges, not even the whistleblowers of the magistrates. Men with righteous moral compasses were becoming increasingly rare as more just, disappeared, never to be seen or heard of again. Ah yes, life was good for Ashoku Kaiken, power, money, influence, fear of the masses. With these tools at his disposal, Ashoku Kaiken was the most powerful man in Tanzakugai. Not even the Kuroda Gumi, a yakuza recently taken over by a band of Nuke Nin from Iwa who continued to keep the yakuza thugs in their employment, dared to displease him. Perhaps yakuza was no longer the correct term to apply to them. Not now. They were led by shinobi, and shinobi never stopped being shinobi, no matter how they claimed otherwise. Regardless, the Kuroda Gumi had risen to prominence under the leadership of the rogue ninja. However, before long Ashoku had them cornered, up against a 5,000-strong legion of policemen. Not even the Nuke Nin stood a chance, fortunately. For the both of them, Ashoku realized, they weren't stupid. No, it was actually quite refreshing to deal with intellectual minds for once. The Kuroda Gumi came to understand who the man in charge was and were now responsible for the additional 500,000 ryo in his personnel safe in his mansion every week, with them keeping his adversaries in check whilst keeping him happy with his weekly tribute. Ashoku was content with allowing these thugs to maintain their opium trafficking and racketeering. As long as they knew who the boss was, the light on his console burned red. What is it? Ashoku asked as he pressed the console button. Ashoku-sama, I have Ashitazu Dono on the line, will you take his call? No. Tell him I will call him. Crash. No sooner had Ashoku taken his finger off the button, did 5 shinobi crash through the windows behind his desk and to his right and 1 through the roof. Ashoku trembled. A tanto was mere inches away from his throat, held steady by the blonde teenager who came crashing from his roof and landed on his desk as his 4 accomplices took their positions, one closing the door, another throwing kunai with explosive tags wrapped around them in each corner of the office. A tall man with sandy blonde hair approached him. He appeared to be in his 20s. Chief Ashoku, my name is Sarugaku Suzumi. Sarugaku looked to Naruto and nodded, prompting the young man to sheath his tanto and reach for ninja wire. We know all about your deal with the Kuroda Gumi, recently taken over by a group of Iwa Nuke Nin. Earlier today, you had one of your lieutenants supplying me with falsified records of decreased crime rates. While this happened, my team encountered a public execution of an innocent civilian by a member of the Kuroda Gumi we believe to go by the name of Gantetsu. That son of a bitch, I knew that loose cannon was going to be trouble at some point. Good. You're not going to bother with claiming ignorance. Sarugaku sat down on the mon's desk, shoving aside his files on the floor where they laid in a heap. Uzumaki, I believe that's enough wire, he won't be going anywhere. Naruto nodded and drew back, standing next to Rei who nodded to him. We need to hurry up, there's a few of them coming up. They mentioned they had a meeting scheduled today, something about budget plans. How do you know this? Ashoku demanded. Naruto smiled eerily, tapping the side of his head. You're right. It says here he's got a meeting scheduled. Sarugaku threw aside Ashoku's leather-bound agenda and reached into his pouch and withdrew a crimson and gold-rimmed baton. Chief, you're going to call your secretary and have her cancel all of your meetings for today. And why would I do that? Pray tell, Sarugaku-san. It didn't come as a surprise the chief kept his cool. He was an experienced officer after all. Why would I listen to you? I was hoping you would say that. Chief, Sarugaku gripped and twisted the top of his baton and took off the detachable cap, revealing the metal contraption under it. It appeared to be a lighter of sorts, or a blowtorch perhaps. This is something demolition experts such as myself refer to as a heatstick. Would you like to know why? Ashoku scoffed with faux bravado and leaned back into his chair as Sarugaku got off his desk, exerting as much movement as the ninja wire allowed him, not particularly. Sarugaku slowly sauntered over and smiled mirthlessly. Using this fine piece of technology, we use a little chakra manipulation to generate a spark. This spark turns into fire, and through the mechanics of the heatstick we, for all intents purposes, are wielding a blowtorch with a heat output of 1300 degrees Celsius. As you can imagine, the heatstick can be a powerful tool of interrogation. Just imagine the skin on your bones melting away, and that's only a fraction of what this thing is capable of. Ashoku swallowed thickly, breaking out in sweat. Perhaps we can discuss this in a more civilized manner, Sarugaku-san. I am sure we can find a middle ground. No, Sarugaku said coldly, you are going to tell us everything you know about the Kuroda Gumi, names, locations. Everything, do you understand? Ashoku nodded repeatedly, muttering incoherently under his breath. Good, now call your secretary and tell her to clear you schedule. Do it now. With a trembling finger, Ashoku pressed the button on his console. Tsubaki, clear my schedule for the rest of the day and go home. Ashoku-sama, are you sure? You're scheduled for a meeting with union representatives in 10 minutes and magistrate representatives in another hour. A snap hiss. Bluish flames erupted from the heatstick in Sarugaku's hand as he nodded slowly. Just do as I say, Tsubaki. I employed you to manage my schedule, not to question my orders. Do you understand? Now do it, or you're fired. Of course, Ashoku-sama. Naruto looked around the room and noticed a frame picture Ashoku's desk and picked up. So even this guy can be a loving father, Naruto noted as he took the happy family on the picture. It brought him on another train of thought. Is anyone home expecting you? And no. And put that down. Naruto flung the frame out of the window. Oops. It got him a disapproving look from Rei and Sarugaku, but he didn't particularly care. Hurry it up. The police union representatives are arguing with the secretary and it looks like they're about to barge up here. Sarugaku nodded and put the heat stick away. Everything you know, right now. Crack. Naruto shook his fist with a satisfied smile as Ashoku fell down along with his chair, a fat bruise forming on his temple as his toupee slid of his fat head. We can't let him off without a scratch. It'll make him think even we're afraid of touching him. Naruto elaborated as his team looked at him with questionable expressions. The warehouse they use as a compound isn't too far from here. Sarugaku took a look at the framed map on the wall, pointing at the industrial section of Tanzakugai. Let's get there quick. The Yakuza thugs aren't going to be a problem. It's the 5 ringleaders including Gantetsu that will be tough to beat. If Gantetsu is the weakest of them like Ashoku claims, then this is going to be tough. We need to make sure we take advantage of the element of surprise. I can scare of the Yakuza if I create 1,000-cage bunshin. I'll believe that when I see it. Uzumaki. Sarugaku derisively cut him off. Until then, don't expect me to take your word for anything you claim you can do. Half tempted to take him up on that offer, Naruto threw his hands in the air. Fine, don't believe me. Do whatever the fuck it is you want to do. I'll just hang back and prove my worth to you once and for all when the opportunity arises. Let's stay focused here. Shikamaru called for attention as he crouched with his hands folded in his thinking position. If it's a warehouse, it's a confined space. If we come in hard and fast, we can take them out quick and easy. What have you got in mind? Hayase asked. In response, Shikamaru walked over to the door and pulled open, standing face to face with several of the police force's brass. Your chief is corrupt, Shikamaru informed bluntly, gesturing to unconscious Ashoku bound up in his chair. We were sent here to conduct an investigation. We discovered the paperwork your chief had been submitting to our government were packed with lies. The police union representatives looked to each other and began to talk at the same time, but Shikamaru held up his hand. We're not interested in you. Whether we include you as corrupt officials in our report is entirely up to us. Of course, we can be persuaded to leave you out of it. What do you want? Asked the union leader. Shikamaru smirked. That's what I want to hear. Tanzakugai, industrial district, in a poorly lit warehouse. The sound of repeated blows to flesh rang, followed by bemused sniggering and laughs and painful grunts. Gantetsu was knelt before another figure with blood streaming down his face. He appeared to have endured a fierce beating and was breathing heavily as the warehouse full of thugs and 4 other shinobi looked down upon him with contempt. How many times have I told you to watch it? Hissed the man towering above him, promptly striking him again with a silver cane in his hand. Your job is to keep the people under control, to let them know who's in charge, not to carry out public executions for everyone including Konoha to see. Boss, please, Gantetsu uttered through the pain. I am sorry. Let me take care of this. If I make them disappear before they can report anything. SSSSSHHHH. What is that? The man hissed from the shadows, his silver cane hovered mere inches from Gantetsu's head. Fire bared down as a large circle was carved into the roof by a sword of fire. You fool! Shouted Gantetsu's boss, striking him once more. You were followed? Crash. The ceiling gave away with a loud explosion and a teenage boy with blonde gravity-defying hair and blue eyes flipped in the air with a red baton in his hand, emitting a stream of blue flames. Holy shit, this thing is awesome. Naruto deactivated and twirled the heatstick between his fingers. I am keeping this. Oh, am I interrupting something? Naruto was a sucker for dramatic entrances. Who is this? The Konoha nin that bested you, Gantetsu. The mysterious figure stepped forward in the moonlight, revealing himself to be a tall, silver cane-wielding man with a gas mask, spiky gray hair and brown eyes, and dressed in black shinobi garb under expensive-looking robes. He's a mere boy. Kagiri-sama, this kid didn't beat me. Whack. Gantetsu made a whimpering noise, holding his head in pain. Silence. Gantetsu. Kagiri strode forward to Naruto, standing fully in the ray of moonlight. I assume your allies are waiting outside for the signal to attack? Naruto's eyes darted from left to right, counting several dozen Yakuza thugs. Do you have any idea who I am? No, but that's really a cool gas mask, Naruto responded cheekily. Seriously, where do you get those, anyway? I mean, now that I think of it, that's a really handy piece of equipment. You never known when you could use one of those. Silence. My name is Kagiri. I was former Ginyashi, and you boy, are out of your league. Kagiri strode closer to Naruto and leveled his silver cane. A silver cane? Come on, you've got to admit, that's pretty lame. Naruto jeered with a sour expression. As expected, the look on Kagiri betrayed his next move and Naruto braced himself for an head-on attack he anticipated. Gantetsu's eyes widened as Kagiri closed in on Naruto with his cane. As Naruto caught it in one hand and smirked, it dawned Gantetsu what was about to happen next. Boss, get out of the way. Gantetsu surged forward as Naruto began to glow. Boom. Go. Naruto jumped down the hole in the roof and landed in the warehouse, back to back with the rest of his team. I really need to thank Gigi properly for giving me that variation of the Kage Bunshin. Naruto held up his hands in an unconventional hand seal. The warehouse was mostly intact, scattered with the bodies of some Yakuza thugs and a huge crater in the concrete floor. The majority of the thugs were alive though, getting to their feet covered in dust and swearing profoundly as they reached for their swords. What is the meaning of this? Kagiri hissed and pushed Gantetsu away, bleeding somewhat but nowhere near as damaged as the large figure of Gantetsu, whose rock armor had been almost completely shaven off and was bleeding profusely. Boss, are you alright? Gantetsu crouched to his knees, wheezing as he struggled to breathe. Naruto frowned. That guy just risked his life to save his boss. Who would have guessed Nuke Nin are capable of loyalty like that?
Kuroda Gumi, you have declared yourself as enemies of Hino Kuni through illegal opium trafficking and other criminal charges, Tsurugaku announced, holding a kunai in a reverse grip in both hands. I will extend to you one opportunity to surrender. If you do not come quietly, you will be subdued and your punishment will be much more severe.
Kagiri growled menacingly and made a summoning gesture. Gantetsu, get to your feet. Rosaria, Kogero, Kiho. Aid me against these Konoha dogs. Three figures that had previously stood in the shadows appeared next to their boss. One of them was an attractive woman in a pink and black robe. The other a tall muscular man in shinobi trousers and a karate gi with ripped-off sleeves, and lastly a dwarf-sized man with gray skin, a dark cloak and goggles and an oversized wrist launcher. Naruto's eyes narrowed as the Yakuza began to surround them. Shikamaru. Crash. Just on time, Shikamaru said as the doors of the warehouse blew wide open and the police force rushed inside and ran towards the thugs. As the police rushed at the thugs, Kagiri snarled, that fat fool Ashoku betrayed us. Kagiri pulled one of his henchmen by the scruff of the neck and pushed him towards the policemen and Konoha nin. Kill them. Kill them all. Kagiri promptly charged forward with his 4 lieutenants, Gantetsu considerably slower but hot on his heels as they clashed.
Ooh. Naruto vs Kagiri. The police and Yakuza shouted battle cries as they engaged one another. Naruto left the rest to handle the small fry and met Kagiri head-on with his tanto in one hand and a kunai another in a cross-shaped guard against his opponent's silver cane. Just tell me something. Naruto gritted through his teeth, pushing Kagiri back with limited effort. What's with the cane? I suppose it can't hurt to show you something extraordinary beautiful before you die. Kagiri distanced himself with fleeting swipe to keep Naruto on his toes and held up his cane in a horizontal guard as he trailed his palm over its smooth cylindrical shape. Gold is supposedly the most valuable mineral on Earth. But I have always preferred silver, it is more durable and practical.
Yet society overlooks these qualities due to their vanity and obsession with that what they perceive as beautiful and valuable. Sometimes the best of qualities of men are also overlooked. It was why I deserted Iwa, to come here and be my own boss. Kagiri went through several sweeping motions with the cane. Back in Iwa they called me Ginyasha. Out here they call me Kagiri no Gintsu. A perhaps not so fitting epitaph, as I am capable of far more than just canes, boy. Naruto's eyes narrowed as Kagiri leveled the cane in his direction, and a split second later the cane shot out and morphed in an extremely lengthy spear. Naruto jumped high over it and Kagiri was upon him instantly. The spear, now a long and thin sword seemingly capable of slicing the wind itself. Naruto brought up a guard with the tanto in his left hand and chucked the kunai at Kagiri. But even at this close distance the silver demon was able to narrowly avoid it with a jerk of his head. Naruto was rewarded with a powerful smash in the side of the head from Kagiri's guard. Naruto back flipped midair and skidded slightly over the ground as the fighting continued to rage on. Fuck, no time to think. Naruto's hands went through the motions purely on instinct after spending thousands of clone hours on this particular jutsu, Kaden. Ryuka no Jutsu. With flawless expertise, Naruto's chest swelled up as his lungs filled up with air and a stream of fire erupted from his mouth with just the right amount of chakra used to spark his flames. That seemed to do the trick. For a second, Kagiri was fast, a lot faster than Naruto had anticipated him to be. The silver cane-wielding Yakuza boss darted to the left and speedily appeared next to Naruto with his silver sword swung in a decapitating strike. Naruto sunk through the ground much to Kagiri's surprise, and as the swordsman's eyes widened, Naruto emerged from the ground behind him and aimed a powerful strike for the kidneys. Kagiri gasped as he fell to one knee, but before Naruto could follow up with another he was struck in the face by Kagiri's weapon, now morphed back into a cane. That silver manipulation ability of his doesn't sound dangerous in theory, but it sure as hell is in practice. Naruto nursed a gash on his cheek whilst Kagiri got to his feet. Not only that, he's incredibly fast, he's no Lee, but with an ability like that he doesn't need to be either. Naruto sure as hell hoped his teammates were faring better than he was as he rolled over his shoulders to avoid a lunge. Ooh, Sarugaku vs Gantetsu. Die. Gantetsu swung a massive fist towards the wall. It instantly gave away, giving him space to run outside the warehouse with his opponent hot on his heels.
You're not going anywhere, you oversized brute. Sarugaku was upon the giant, wielding several kunai with ninja wire attached to them. The seasoned Chunin hurled the projectiles at Gantetsu as he tried to run for it and easily halted his movements with a web of ninja wire, to which he added another salvo shuriken and some more ninja wire to it. As more projectiles lodged into the earth, the wire pulled tighter on the Iwa nuke nin, completely halting his movements and allowing Sarugaku to take his time in catching up with his prey. Gantetsu's breathing was labored, still suffering from previous injuries at the hands of Naruto and his Kagiri, yet he was still smiling. Looks like you got me. Sarugaku held a single kunai in one hand, to which all other wires were connected. You won't be smiling for long, Iwa scum. Sarugaku reached into the large pouch on his hip, specifically for his demolition equipment, and withdrew a thick roll of explosive tags. Gantetsu's eyes widened in fear and Sarugaku smiled condescendingly. Terrifying, isn't it? Sarugaku mocked as he held the explosive tag roll to the kunai through which all wires connected. Ninpo. Bakuhatsu wana. The roll in Sarugaku's hand began to rotate wildly as tag after tag seamlessly attached to the kunai and shot up the web of ninja wire. This is where it ends. Sarugaku raised the kunai above his head and flung to the ground, sinking it up to its hole, and jumped back a few times to distance himself out of the blast radius. Katsu. Boom. The explosion caused a series of small tremors through the ground and chunks of earth flew through the air as black smoke bellowed from the newly formed crater. Sarugaku exhaled slowly as he approached his fallen victim, but it was until the smoke cleared that his eyes widened. In the middle of the crater, protecting by a huge chunk of earth, was Gantetsu, seemingly unharmed by the explosion. How? Sarugaku shouted with disbelief. The explosion should have killed you. Hey. Gantetsu smirked as he broke free from the earth shield, covered in large chunks of jagged pieces of earth. I had you pegged as an arrogant one from the get-go. What with your heroic speech and all. So, I made sure you went after me so I could lure you outside, and while you took your perverted pleasure in slowly setting up my death, I channeled chakra through the ground to pull him minerals I could use to heal myself. Gantetsu burst out in laughter. I played you like a fool. Sarugaku surged forward with his tanto drawn, rage in his eyes and chucking an explosive tag kunai at him, but Gantetsu did not falter. Instead, the giant swung a giant earth-encrusted fist at Sarugaku, intercepting the kunai with a chunk of earth, and used the remainders of smoke to blindside Sarugaku and slam the Konoha nin in the abdomen, sending him flying into a painful sprawl on the ground. And now you're going to die like a fool. Ooh, Shikamaru vs Kiho. In another part of the warehouse,
Shikamaru found himself running through a confined space muttering troublesome like a mantra as his levitating dwarf opponent continued to launch grenade after grenade from his wrist launcher. Bang! 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 Series of explosions followed the shadow user as he ran down the hall.
Shikamaru jumped forward and spun fast enough in the air to throw a kunai with an explosive tag attached to it to distract his opponent as he continued to down the hallways of the warehouse. Shikamaru slid on his feet around the corner, and reached for more kunai and explosive tags whilst muttering every swear word in the book.
Gihahahaha. You can't run now, little mouse. Triku Shadow. Kiho took aim with his wrist launcher and shot 3 canisters at once, 2 bounding of the wall against another and strategically exploding in front of Shikamaru. The explosion sent the shadow user flying back towards Kiho, who took aim once again and shot a large net towards Shikamaru to bag him like a cat. Gihahahaha. The gray-skinned dwarf cackled, only to suddenly find himself incapable of moving. What the? Kagemane no Jutsu, success. Shikamaru got to his feet with his hands in the rat hand seal. Kiho was distraught with fear. How did you? When you shot that net, I decided to wing it and use the shadow cast by the net as a medium to catch you. Looks like I am in luck today. I should hit the casinos later. Shikamaru smiled lazily as he took a few steps backwards, looked to the ceiling, forcing Kiho to the same place. Right above Kiho's head were 2 kunai with explosive tags attached to them. When did you throw those up there? Shikamaru yawned lazily. Though it was only logical for you to force me into a confined space so I couldn't escape the blast radius of your grenades, you didn't account for any explosives I might have been carrying. Just before you tried that trick shot I threw 2 kunai in front of me and 2 behind. The ones I threw behind me were extremely mild variations, and though they wouldn't be lethal for me, they could destroy your grenades and make them inert before they detonated. And what about these 2? Are those 2 mild variations? Kiho's voice shook in fear. Shikamaru shook his head. I ran out of regular explosive tags, so I had to go for these ones. They're considerably more powerful than the usual ones. If I am not mistaken, once I detonate them, the ceiling will give away and crush you. Wait. I have money. Lots of it. Kiho screamed at Shikamaru. If you let me go, I'll give you as much money as you want. I'll give you every last penny I have. Shikamaru didn't deign to reply and merely smiled in his lazy manner. Bang. The ceiling above Kiho gave away with a loud explosion, and just before the gray-skinned dwarf was buried by the debris, Shikamaru cancelled the jutsu. That's my part done. Yeah, I'll just sit the rest out. Shikamaru sighed as he slumped against the wall with a lazy sigh. Ooh, Naruto vs Kagiri. In the upper levels of the Kuroda Gumi warehouse, Naruto and Kagiri were still going at it in a heated combat that took them all over the place. Whoosh. Naruto ducked under a swipe to his head and retaliated by burying his fist in Kijira's stomach. The lanky shinobi turned Yakuza boss lurched over as saliva dripped down his chin. Naruto followed up with a crushing left hook to the temple to send his opponent crashing headfirst into the wall. He had gotten used to Kijira's speed and with time managed to exceed it. His opponent's movements became easier to predict, and Naruto fully capitalized on Kijira's weak taijutsu by delivering as many powerful strikes as he could in quick succession. This guy is nothing like Neji or Gaara, Naruto thought, sidestepped a fencing-like lunge and retaliating with another punch to the kidney. Damn you. Kagiri began swinging his cane erratically, blood and saliva dripping down his chin. This couldn't be happening. How was he losing this badly, to a child no less? I'll kill you. Kagiri screamed as he swung his cane towards Naruto many times. Changing its form wouldn't work, so why bother with wasting chakra? Naruto held up his guard, hopping from foot to foot like a boxer to keep his reflexes sharp. Just give up. You can't beat me. You're going to die if you keep this up, Naruto warned. Kijira's response was to swing down his cane, but Naruto already saw it coming. A dash forward, planting his left fist deep into Kijira's stomach and snatching the cane out of his hand with right, following up with a roundhouse kick to knock the older shinobi down. Naruto glared at Kagiri. I can tell from your movements you've gotten rusty since you took over the Kuroda Gumi. It's still there in your mind. Naruto tapped the side of his head for emphasis, but your body can't keep up with it. You're an easy target for someone like me who hasn't stopped fighting since he started. Enough. I will not stand here and take such disrespectful from a whelp like you, boy. Kagiri bellowed, going through several hand seals. A string of hand seals Naruto recognized, prompting him to swear out loud, fuck. This ends now. Kagiri cackled. I may have lost some of my skill, but my partner in combat has not. Kachiyose no jutsu. Kagiri slammed down his arm on the concrete. It was almost dramatic how he did it, Naruto noted. Poof. The building shook and the ceiling collapsed as a giant pillar of smoke burst into existence, followed by the ear-splitting screech of a creature Naruto could only assume was a giant squirrel. Its fur was platinum blonde, its eyes red and its claws were twice as long as Naruto was tall and thrice as thick. I have come to serve, Kagiri-sama. The creature resembling a squirrel bellowed. The creature was so big, that simply by summoning it, Kagiri had dispelled several of Naruto's clones and sent many yakuza and policemen flying through the air. As fascinating as the creature was, Naruto didn't have much time to admire as Kagiri leveled his cane towards Naruto and commanded the best to attack. The summon obeyed and struck out with large drill-like claws, tearing away at the warehouse building and forcing Naruto to run for it and jump onto rooftops nearby as he escaped. Oh, it is so on! Naruto shouted as he jumped high into the air. Jumping from chunk of debris to reach a high enough altitude from which he could determine a safe spot to summon Gamabunta. He had been dying for an excuse to summon the Toad Chief ever since Sarugaku called him a liar, and this was the perfect opportunity to not only kick his TL in the teeth but to also beat Kagiri. Naruto's hands became blurs as he went through the string of hand seals required and slammed his fast palms below him as though he were trying to touch the ground dozens of feet below. Kuchiyose no Jutsu. Poof. As the smoke cleared up, Naruto was over 100 feet higher in the air, positioned on the head of none other than Gamabunta the Toad Chief. Gaki. Sarugaku was down on one knee before Gentetsu, panting and blood streaming down his chin and temple. No matter what he did, no matter how many explosions he set off, his opponent Gentetsu would always come back with a vengeance, healed by the minerals he pulled out of the earth. A loud bang went off in the distance. Sounds like Kiho took care of that brat with the pineapple hairstyle. Gentetsu sneered. Right about now Rosaria and Kogero are killing your swordsman and your pretty little Kunoichi friend. As for Kagiri-sama, well, that kid was lost cause from the get-go. There's no way Kagiri-sama will spare him. How can you be so loyal to him after he nearly killed you? Sarugaku spat some blood and struggled to get to his feet, his body completely battered and bruised from the onslaught of Gentetsu's punishing blows. He treats you like dirt. He saved my life a long time ago. It's his to do with what he wishes. Gentetsu replied firmly with nothing but the utmost of conviction in his words. He began to walk towards Sarugaku. The earth crusted onto his skin, growling lengthier, thicker and jagged as it gained volume. It's time to end this, Konoha dog. Now you'll know why Konoha would have lost the war if not for the Kiroi Senko. Poof. I have come to serve, Kagiri-sama. Sarugaku's eyes widened as a giant summon appeared, ripping through the walls of the warehouse it was summoned it. What in the world is that? Sarugaku demanded with a shout. That thing is enormous. Who could have summoned it? Gentetsu barked an ominous laugh, stopping his stride momentarily. That is Kagiri-sama's personal summon. He is the only one in the world to hold a summoning contract to its kin, though I have no idea why Kagiri-sama felt the need to summon it for weaklings such as you. Gentetsu began to approach Sarugaku again. By now his rock fist had grown larger than Sarugaku himself. Don't worry though, it'll be over for you soon. Sarugaku closed his eyes as Gentetsu stopped before him and raised his giant club-like arm to smash him like an insect. I guess this is the end. Poof. Gaki. What in the hell is that? Gentetsu's eyes widened just as Sarugaku opened his. A giant toad had appeared to fight Kijira's summon and he didn't seem to be happy about. That's Gamabunta-sama. Sarugaku shouted. Gentetsu looked at him with bulging eyes, having heard of the legendary Toad Chief. It was in this moment Sarugaku saw an opening and as Gentetsu's eye trailed upwards to the giant toad, he reached into pouch and withdrew his final roll of explosive tags, having pulled so many minerals to strengthen rock armor. Gentetsu was weighed down too much by his rock fist to react on time to Sarugaku throwing the explosive tag roll at him and making a hand seal as the explosives tags began to attach to him rapidly. There's no time for you to prepare your armor now, Iwa scum. Sarugaku shouted, and though he was only a few feet away, he detonated the explosive tags. Boom. The explosion sent Sarugaku flying back and skidding over the floor with several burns and singes. But all these wounds went unregistered as he lied mere feet away from the bloodied mess that was once Gentetsu. His rock armor had not been prepared for an explosion of that magnitude and thus he paid the ultimate price for his arrogance. With one strained motion to look upwards, Sarugaku saw Gamabunta fight it out with Kijira's summon. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Sarugaku uttered in a strained voice before slipping into unconsciousness. Ooh. Naruto vs Kagiri. Gaki. Yo, Gamabunta-chan. How have you been? Ouch. Naruto found himself face-planting on Gamabunta's enormous head courtesy from the Toad Chief's giant tongue bearing down upon him as the toad croaked in anger, causing Naruto further fall his gigantic frame. Gaki. Don't you yo me. I was having dinner with my family when you decided to summon me without notice. You're either very stupid or very ballsy. Either way I am gonna have to teach you a lesson. I didn't mean to. Naruto screamed in genuine fear, hanging from the toad's jacket. Look, I am sorry. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt your family dinner. It's just that this guy said some pretty inappropriate things about toads. What? Gamabunta demanded as he reached for his sword. He did he? What did he say, Gaki? He said, toads suck since they're not match for snakes, and he also said,
liar. Kagiri screamed at the top of his lungs. Gamabunta had now unsheathed his blade and held it a reverse guard. First you disrespect the most honorable kin of the toads, and now you call my summoner a liar. I've always wanted a snakeskin wallet, but it looks like it'll have to do with squirrel.
I am not a squirrel, you fat son of a bitch. Kagira's summon screamed at Gamabunta, prompting a thick vein to appear on the toad chief's enormous head. Fat? I'll show you fat, you rodent. Come here. Gamabunta began his onslaught by jumping high into the air. Naruto had almost fallen off if he hadn't attached himself by the means of chakra on instinct. Sweden. Teppodama no Jutsu. The water orb struck head-on and Kagira's summon screamed in fury, my coat. Look what you did to my coat, you fat bastard. Now everyone's going to think I smell. You stank long before I got here, squirrel. Gamabunta shot back, and to add insult to injury he added, your whole kind does. I don't care. As the two giants battled it out, Naruto's sweat dropped as he wasn't so sure if the Toad Chief was fighting on his behalf anymore. Why couldn't it have been this easy when he was fighting Gaara and the Shukaku? Gamabunta only helped him back then because he saved his son, but now the Toad was fighting to prove the kinship of toads to be superior to those of the lemurs, or squirrels. Naruto had no idea what Kagiri had summoned, it kind of looked like both. Still, the lemur, or whatever it was, proved to be a worthy adversary as a minute later Gamabunta had to withdraw with a deep gash under his right eye. He's a swift bastard. Gamabunta blew a huge puff of smoke through his pipe. Kid, do you know any fire jutsu? A few, was Naruto's reply as Gamabunta charged at Kagira's summon again. Kunai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu.
Naruto dispensed one kunai from his spring-set mechanism and threw it towards Kagiri. Mid-air one kunai changed into a constant stream of 1,000 projectiles which Kagiri for the most part deflected, though a few longed into his thighs and arms, but the pain went unregistered. His summon on the other hand was not so lucky as hundreds of small projectiles dug into its skin, causing it to screech in pain. I am gonna spit some oil, you just ignite it and watch em burn. Gamabunta jumped high into the air while Kagira's summon howled and formed his amphibian hands into a hand seal. His cheeks swell up. Ready, Gaki? Ready. Naruto went through a string of hand seals of his own. Eat it, you miserable squirrel bastard. Gamabunta spat out a massive volume of oil that came crashing down upon the lemur like a fountain. Now, Naruto. Kaiten. Ryuka no Jutsu. I am ARRGH. The only word that come to Naruto's mind that could begin to describe what happened next was inferno. As fire struck oil, it ignited and a giant stream of fire came bearing down up Kagiri and his summon as though there was a tear in dimensions and hell was unleashed. Kagira's summon had no chance of defending itself against the inferno and caught aflame. The summon screamed and screeched in vain as it toppled over and lied still moments later, burned to death by the white-hot flames. Shit. Gamabunta swore loudly. Naruto didn't have to ask, he could see it himself all too clear. They had overdone it with the fire and now it had swept the entire warehouse in a sea of flames spreading at an alarming rate. Gamabunta, can you set out the fire? Naruto had to shout to make his request sound clear. Not by myself, I can't, Gaki, I am not a one-toed fire brigade. Right. Naruto went through another string of hand seals knowing this would put a drain on his chakra, but he didn't exactly have a choice, thus he jumped off Gamabunta's head and slammed his palm down mid-air. Kuchiyose no Jutsu. Poof. With another giant pillar of smoke, an enormous bluish-green toad with a waistband and two swords sheathed on its back in a cross-shaped guard appeared next to Gamabunta. The toad appeared to be considerably younger and less battle-worn than Gamabunta, but seemed powerful nonetheless. Gamahiro. It's good you're here, help me put out of the fire. Gamabunta took the skies followed by Gamahiro, ridden by Naruto. Right, boss. Mid-air. The two giant summoned toads swell up momentarily before they simultaneously spat gulf of water. Teppodama no Jutsu. The incredibly volume of water came raining down upon the blazing fires. The two toads continued to spit water orb after water orb until there was nothing but shallow fires and a large fog of steam left. Naruto sighed in relief as he could see the fire brigade in the distance pulling up with their portable water cannons to put out the remaining fires. Looks like they've got it from here. Naruto looked to Gamahiro and gave the toad thumbs up. Thanks, Gamahiro. You're a lifesaver. What, you forgot about me already, have you? Gamabunta grumbled. Don't mention it, Uzumaki-san, glad to help. The toad gave what Naruto could only assume was a bow of the head. Gamabunta bristled with an irritable croak. Don't celebrate too soon, for all we know that squirrel bastard and his master will be on their feet again.
Gamahiro promptly reached for the dual katana he had on his back and unsheathed them, much to Naruto's admiration. That is so cool. Naruto beamed at the toad. Yeah, and what about my blade? Gamabunta said with a scowl, you never compliment me on that, and let's not forget I dismembered a Biju for you either, brat. You got any idea how dangerous that was, Gaki? Despite his booming voice, Gamabunta's complaints went unheard as Naruto fawned over Gamahiro as though he were a child with a shiny new toy. So what else can you do, Gamahiro? Naruto asked the giant bluish-green toad. Ribbit. I don't think this is the time, Uzumaki-san, Gamahiro responded politely. Right, Naruto nodded sagely with his arms crossed, of course you're right, we should check up on the others and those two bastards down there. Elsewhere. Rei and Hayase were having a hard time fighting against their two opponents as they battled it out on a rooftop nearby with the Iwa Taijutsu specialist Kogero and the eccentric Vine Whip using Kunoichi Rosaria. I can't fucking believe it. Hayase darted to the left and retaliated with a slice of his dual swords to cut a vine meant to subdue him to ribbons. He wasn't lying. He really can summon toads, and Gamabunta no less. I knew he could. Rei responded, jumping over Kogero and back flipping a few times to distance herself from Kogero. Megan. Sanjushi. Rei smirked with satisfaction. They were wise to switch opponents. Initially Hayase and Rei had been fighting each other's opponents, but it soon came evident Rosaria's vines were useless against Hayase and Kogero's brute strength was nullified by Rei's genjutsu and medical experience. Yeah, right. Hayase scoffed and took a step back to begin moving his dual blade rhythmically to cast an optic illusion. Konoha Ryu. Sazanami Konoha. The attack sliced Rosario's vines to ribbons, causing her to snarl and rush over to Kogero just as Rei moved in with chakra scalpels to cut his tendons. Kai. Rosaria screamed, damn it, Kogero, how can you fall for such weak genjutsu? I'll show you how it's done. Rosaria went through a string of hand seals and rose petals began to emerge from her sleeves at an alarming rate. Hisatsu Sakura Arashi. Rei's eyes narrowed and she instantly cancelled out the genjutsu. Kai. Hayase on the other hand was already caught and was cutting away madly the rose petals, thinking they were the real deal. Hayase, they're not real. Rei swore, something she rarely did, and rushed over to cancel out the genjutsu on Hayase as actual gashes began to appear on his body. Kogero stamped his feet on the rooftop tiles and struck both his hands into the concrete, fingers sinking through the concrete like knives through butter. The silent brute began to grunt and his face turned red as veins popped up down his face and arms. UARGH. Shit. Rei began to pull Hayase away with her, but he was already deep in the genjutsu and was swiping away at imaginary razor-sharp rose petals despite being on the ground. Damn it. Rei felt terror and desperation seep into her as Kogero heaved the enormous block of concrete above his head and Rosaria cackled. Kagemane no Jutsu. Success. Relief splashed over Rei like a tsunami. Shikamaru. Lying next to Shikamaru was a nearly unconscious and badly wounded Sarugaku. Their TL held gave thumbs up and slumped back into unconsciousness. Shikamaru's arms were held above his head just like Kogero. The Kagemane user turned to Rosaria whose triumphant smirk had now all but disappeared. Shikamaru chuckled and cancelled his shadow possession jutsu, causing the block of concrete to instantly fall on Kogero's head and bury him into the rooftop concrete and crash down to the lower levels. That's two I took out. You can handle her. Shikamaru fell on his backside and sighed tiredly, picking his ear with his pinky. Kogero. Rosaria screamed. Rei capitalized on the enemy Kunoichi's distraction and was upon Rosaria in an instant. Chakra scalpels activated. She made quick work of disabling the Vine Whip Kunoichi by slicing her tendons, effectively incapacitating her and chopped her in the back of her neck, knocking her out. The other two? Hayase asked tiredly as he sat down next to Shikamaru. Dead. Shikamaru replied easily. I had to get out of there quick though. Fire spread out of nowhere and then it started raining. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow at the glances Rei and Hayase exchanged. I am guessing Naruto had something to do with it. I can't believe he was telling the truth all along. Hayase helped himself to some energy replenishing pills and got to his feet. Let's wrap this up, shall we? There might be some thugs around here thinking they can get away. You guys go ahead and do that. I am gonna sit here with the Taicho. Shikamaru laid back on the rooftop with a drawn-out yawn. I am beat. Neither Rei or Hayase could fault him considering he beat two of Kijira's lieutenants on his own. Alright. Rei took out a field kit of medical supplies from her bag and threw it to Shikamaru who deftly caught it. Check up on Sarugaku Taicho's wounds. They don't seem life-threatening but I don't think he'll be in any condition to fight anytime soon. With Naruto. Naruto stood on top of Gamahiro's head and slid down the amphibian's arm to the smoldering remains of Kagiri and his summon. The silver demon of Iwa was still alive, suffering several burns and screaming hysterically over the death of his companion. You killed him. And good riddance, Gamabunta added with a croak. Kagiri swung his cane at Naruto. The heat of the fire had melted the skin on his hand to the cane and it was rather disgusting. How? Kagiri screamed and charged for Naruto, but the young Chunin simply sidestepped and tripped the cane-wielding shinobi to the ground. How I beat you? Naruto asked calmly and Kagiri gave the smallest of inclinations. That was easy. Naruto took a seat on a broken piece of concrete. You're weak. I am not. That's why it was easy to beat you. That's all there is to it. Kagiri snarled and rushed at him again, but Naruto back-flipped of his seat and retaliated with a square punch to the face, sending Kagiri sprawling back over the floor and holding his face. Muffling his screams of pain, you fight for yourself. I fight for something much greater, Naruto said coolly. You know, a while back I went to a little country called Nami no Kuni. I am talking real tiny, not much bigger than this city even. Anyway, that's not what was interesting about. No, what was interesting was that I found out that for years they lived with the same situation the people of Tanzakugai do now. Naruto got up and slowly sauntered over, kicking Kagiri in the side with enough strength to send him crashing into the remains of a wall back on dirt. I realized then and there would always be scum like you around, parasites that live off the weak and defenseless, even though they're weaklings themselves, Naruto added with eerie smile. Silence. You don't know what you're talking about, boy. Kagiri got to his feet in an attempt to rush at the blonde, but Naruto intercepted him and caught him by the neck and slammed him over his shoulder and crouched by him, his furious blue orbs piercing those of Kagiri as he squeezed the Mont's windpipe. You're weak because your reason to fight is weak, selfish, that's what you are and that's why someone like you could never beat someone like me. I learned not so long ago that a man with a cause will always triumph over one without. Naruto pulled him up and cast Kagiri aside as though he was nothing and reached for his tanto. I am not some idealistic kid, not anymore. I know the world is crazy and fucked up, but that doesn't change the fact I can do something about it. That doesn't change the fact I can kill you and at least save some people from harm. Kijira's eyes widened at the shining blade in Naruto's hand and swallowed thickly. And no, not like this. Kagiri scrambled to his feet but realized there was nowhere for him to go and turned around with derangement in his eyes, not to a child, not to a boy. The absolute terror in Kagiri's voice and eyes did nothing to perturb Naruto's resolve. Naruto was behind him in an instant, blood gushing through the air as Kagiri slowly reached for his neck with both hands as blood spurted out of a deep slash in his throat. That's one less piece of shit on this earth, Naruto said coldly. And those were the last words Kagiri heard as his body went through violent convulsions before finally coming to an end with one last kick of his feet. There was a moment of silence as Naruto looked at the man he had just killed. The silence was broken by Gamahiro. I should go now, Uzumaki-san. Summoning me and sustaining my presence and as well as Gamabunta-sama's must be incredibly taxing on your reserves. Gamahiro croaked. I'll take this creature with me. I am sure we can find some uses for its remains. As cold-blooded as that sounded, Naruto knew toads were animals first and foremost and this was only to be expected. Besides they were cold-blooded anyway. Thanks, Gamahiro. Would you mind if I summon you again the next time I need you? You don't have the tendency to beat me up first before you help me. If ever need be, feel free to summon. I would consider it a great honor to be your familiar, Ribbit. The honor's all mine, Gamahiro-san. Gamahiro croaked cheerfully and extended his giant tongue to the remains of Kijira's summon and wrapped it around its paw, until we meet again. Poof. Poof. With two giant pillars of smoke Gamahiro and Kijira's summon disappeared. Naruto jumped onto Gamabunta mere seconds before Gamahiro disappeared. Is it alright with you if Gamahiro becomes my familiar, Gamabunta? Naruto sat down on the Toad Chief's head as they approached the burning remains of Kijira's summon. Suit yourself, kiddo. Gamabunta replied rather moodily. You sure you're okay? Naruto asked, to which the Toad Chief rasped buried. Alrighty then, thanks for your help, big guy. Naruto slapped Gamabunta's giant leg, unable to reach any further. You sure showed that lemur, squirrel. Naruto. Naruto turned to the source of the new voice. It was Ray. What are you doing here, Ray-chan? Ray punched him in the arm. Stop calling me that. She then turned to Gamabunta and bowed respectfully as most Konoha nin would have done. Greetings, Gamabunta-sama. I apologize for striking your summoner. Whoosh. Gamabunta's giant tongue bore down on Naruto and struck him so hard, he left a body print on the dirt. I like you already, Gamabunta complimented. Do me a favor and look out for this idiot. He has a knack for getting in trouble, and for destroying things too. I might add considering the damage he did to the forest the last time he summoned me. With your help, I might add. Naruto shot back, his voice muffled under the dirt. Ouch. Gamabunta struck again for good measure. I tell you what kid, this girl looks a lot more capable than that pink-haired one you should ask her out. I am right here. Reese input went unnoticed. No way, she won't even let me call her Rei-chan. She'll probably kill me if I ask her out. Naruto struggled to get to his feet, and seriously, what is up with you? I am your underling, you're not supposed to hit your underlings for no reason. Underling? Rei repeated, though again she went unnoticed as Naruto was busy running away from Gamabunta's vengeful tongue. Eventually Naruto ran out of steam and Gamabunta tongue flicked him through the remainders of 3 walls as punishment for his insolence. I've got to go. Gaki, my diner's getting cold, next time call for Gamahiro. I am the Toad Chief, not your familiar. Naruto smiled ominously with a temporary stroke of pure evil genius. Jiraiya called you his familiar. An undoubtedly cruel but not uncalled for move, Naruto thought. He had to get back at the hermit for throwing him down a ravine at some point, so why not now, with a perfect opportunity like this? The prankster in him commanded it. What? He did he? Well, I'll show that perverted hermit who's boss the next time he has the gall to summon me. Gamabunta exhaled a billow of smoke from his nostrils and grunted, take care, Naruto. Poof. As the enormous pillar of smoke was blown away by the wind, Naruto groaned, holding his head, stupid Gamabunta, always hitting me for no reason. Naruto grumbled, he did more damage than Kagiri and his rodent sidekick combined. The sad part about it was that Naruto wasn't even exaggerating. The toad packed a tongue. Where are the others? Rei pointed a thumb and over her shoulder. Heiase is with the police force. Shikamaru's tending to Saragaku's wounds. Naruto sniggered at this. Or sleeping. I don't know. He seemed rather tired. The other 4 are down and out, so catching their thugs is up to the police. Naruto shook his head. It doesn't have to be, he told her, making a hand seal. Tanzakugai Bunshin no Jutsu. Hundreds of pillars of smoke burst into existence as over 500 Naruto clones surrounded the area and immediately took off. That ought to do it. I don't think I'll ever get used to that, Rei commented, looking at the hundreds of clones taking off. Naruto shrugged. Sorry if Gamabunta made you uncomfortable with that comment about me asking you out, he means well, I think. Rei had the most subtle of blushes and decided to vent her embarrassment through sighing exasperatedly and crossing her arms over her chest. He has a point though, you tend to destroy things unnecessarily. What? Naruto couldn't believe it. I didn't destroy anything, that was all Gamabunta. He can't control his temper and he tends to lash out violently, not me. What about the restaurant from earlier? You can't blame all of that on Gantetsu. Shikamaru told me you detonated a bomb in there. Naruto opened his mouth and close again a few times. She had a point. Okay, fine, you got me there, but can you really blame me? That guy is huge. Rei corrected. Sarugaku Taicho killed him. Right, he was huge, Naruto amended. Noticeable surprised Sarugaku had pulled that one off, and for the record, it was a clone. Besides, desperate times make for desperate measure. The last time I used an exploding tag, I never mind. You don't want to know what I did the last time I had an explosive tag. Naruto's mind wandered for a moment and he knew any kind of friendship with the red demon of the sand would be impossible. Shaking his head, Naruto shuddered at the thought. You really don't want to know. I don't intend to pry on that matter, Rei said dryly. Still, my points stand. You completely destroyed an entire restaurant mere minutes after we got here. With help. This discussion went on for a while as the two made it back to the rest of their team. Eventually the subject shifted from Naruto's destructive tendencies to other subjects. There was one in particular Rei seemed rather interested in. How did you meet Jiraiya-sama? Rei asked a while later, coming to a standstill with their teammates close by. Obviously you must have impressed him for him to make you his pupil, right? Well, Naruto took a thoughtful pose as he thought back to the time he met Jiraiya. Oiroke no Jutsu. He shook his head vehemently, knowing he would lose what little respect he had gained if he told her that particular story. You don't want to know that either. He used to think the world of that particular jutsu. It was incredibly useful against perverts, but now he had matured a little. He knew it was incredibly humiliating for himself, perhaps more so than for his victims. Oh, from the look of your face I think I do. Well, too bad, Rei-chan. Oh. Rei swiftly punched him in the arm with annoyed expression. Stop calling me that. Naruto rubbed the painful spot on with a frown. For a girl you sure pack a punch. You could seriously hurt someone with those. Do you want another? No, ma'am. Naruto shook his head dutifully. Just out of curiosity. Why don't you like me calling you that? It's unprofessional, Rei responded coolly. Our professional involves killing people, Naruto deadpanned. She shrugged indifferently to the sentiment. And, what's your point? I don't think I have one, Naruto responded sagely, as though imparting her with great knowledge and wisdom. Rei shook her head. You're an idiot. That night Heiase took point as acting team leader as Sarugaku was being treated for his injuries at the Tanzakugai hospital. When Naruto and Rei got back to the others, the last of the thugs were being rounded up and the fire brigade were putting out shallow fires around the warehouse. Journalists were on the scene taking statements of the police brass and several magistrate officials whom were quite content in forgetting they had all been working with and under a corrupt chief to usurp as much credit as possible. Naruto had half a mind to expose every single one of them for the truly despicable people they were. But a deal was a deal. In exchange for police assistance, none of them would be mentioned in their investigation report on Tanzakugai's police force, though Shikamaru had warned them they would be put under close scrutiny for the time being and any further act of corruption would be met with the harshest of punishments. Fortunately, these guys weren't nearly as arrogant as their former chief and they readily agreed to the conditions Shikamaru set them. Hayase gathered the remaining members of Team 312 as Sarugaku was helped onto a stretcher and into a hospital carriage. We're going to be staying in an inn for the night. We set out first thing in the morning. What about Sarugaku's wounds? Naruto raised the issue with little to no sympathy for their TL, but the question had to be asked. He looks like he just got him by a train. Hayase shrugged. According to Ray, he's fit to travel, so first thing tomorrow we're hauling his ass out of the hospital and we're heading back to Konoha. I'll up his dosage for painkillers, Ray added. If we keep him sedated until we get back to Konoha, there should be no complications. Hayase nodded curtly and went to check up on Sarugaku one more time. Naruto pulled Ray aside, much to her annoyance. What are you doing? Shut up, Naruto whispered, reaching into his pouch and withdrawing a scroll. You know how to use basic fuinjutsu, right? Storing and withdrawing. Of course I do. I am a medic and here is Kagiri's summoning scroll. I had a clone retrieve it. Ray looked at the scroll offered to her and then to Naruto with a suspicious look in her eyes. Why are you giving this to me? Well, for one, I sure as hell can't use it since I killed Kagiri's summon, so there's no way its kin will fight for me. Naruto glanced at Hayase and Sarugaku in the distance. Secondly, I don't want that bastard Sarugaku claiming credit for bringing back a summoning scroll, so instead, I'd like you to have it. Why not Shikamaru? You two seem to be close, Ray asked. Naruto shook his head. I thought about it, but Shika would probably refuse since that means hell have to actually train how to summon them. I don't know how to summon either, Ray told him in a whisper. Besides, I've already been put up on the list. What list? Naruto asked. Ray sighed exasperatedly, though Naruto could tell there was very little annoyance in her voice. You don't really know much about how things work in Konoha, do you? Naruto shrugged, prompting Ray to continue. If you think you're summoner material, you can apply for training and if you pass they'll let you sign one of several summoning scrolls of Konoha. I am still pending but I. Just shut up and take it. Naruto reached behind her and dropped the scroll in her pouch. Ray pushed him back with a faint but visible red tinge on her cheeks. You should really know your boundaries, Uzumaki, and you should know when to be grateful, Ray-chan. The kunoichi gave him an annoyed look but it didn't last. He could tell she was happy with the gift even if she tried to pretend otherwise. Look, if you still want to hand it in, go for it. They'll probably take you off the pending list and let you sign whichever contract you want if you do. Then why don't you hand it in? Ray reached for the pouch Naruto had put the scroll in but he grabbed her wrist. I can summon toads, even if they don't seem to listen to me very often. Naruto's sweat dropped for a moment. Anyway, I don't need the credit either. You, on the other hand, are a medical shinobi and summons can be pretty damn useful, even the smaller ones, so, take it. Hurry up, lovebirds. Hayase called from a distance. Ray quickly pulled back her hand and shot Hayase the coldest glare she could muster. Then turning to Naruto, she caved. Thank you. You're welcome, Naruto told her with a smile. This doesn't mean I owe you though, Ray added as they began to follow Hayase and Shikamaru. What? Naruto gave her an incredulous look. You owe me big time. That's a summoning scroll no one else has signed, I checked. You can't expect people to return the favor when you give them a gift, that's poor upbringing. Naruto shrugged. I am an orphan, so suck it. Oh, from Ree's expression he could tell she felt incredibly guilty for her last remark. Don't feel bad. I don't, Naruto lied. Come on, we should hurry up. Hayase is giving me thumbs up and that can't be right. Ooh. A few days later, Naruto felt as though an enormous weight was lifted off his shoulders as he walked past Konoha's giant gates. Immediately, his stomach demanded Ichiraku ramen and Naruto would gladly comply. It had only been a few days but already his body was suffering from withdrawal. It would also be a good opportunity to catch up with Tuchi and Ayame as his last visits had been rather rushed. Shikamaru, to Ichiraku's, Naruto declared, pointing into the general direction Ichiraku's would be. Shikamaru sighed. Again? Why is it always Ichiraku's? Silence. Naruto commanded, don't offend the ramen, they'll hear you. All the way from here. Shikamaru had a bemused look about him. The shadow user finally did concede but with terms. Alright, but you're buying. Again? That's like the third time in a row. Naruto complained in a childlike whining tone. Come on, Shika, you're a Nara. Your clan's loaded. Why do I always have to pay for your meals, you greedy son of a bitch? If you keep picking the same place to eat, sure. Now you just make it sound like I am offering to pay, Naruto complained, which I am not, he added pointedly. Shikamaru shrugged. Take it or leave it. Heiase chuckled at their exchange. Mind if I tag along? I am starving. Me too. Ray chimed in. Naruto could already feel his wallet shrink. Fine, but next time you're paying, Shikamaru Teme. Heiase looked down to their unconscious team leader, still trapped on a cart they had appropriated in Tanzakugai, pulled by Naruto clones. Well, drop off Sarugaku first, then well eat. Do people really take this long to get better? It's been 2 days already. Naruto looked to Shikamaru for an answer. The lazy genius shook his head, clearly bemused. We're not all like you, Naruto. Haven't you ever been sick? Ray asked. Naruto shook head like a simpleton as though the concept of being sick didn't exist in his world. Nope, never. Why am I not surprised? Reese's voice dripped with sarcasm. You're a very sarcastic person, Ray, and you're very observant. Oh, well thanks hey. While later they were seated at Ichirikakus, listening to Heiase exaggerated and wholly false accounts of how he faced 2 lieutenants on his own while bravely defending a defenseless Ray. Quite frankly, only Ayame seemed impressed by his false tales of grandeurs whilst his teammates stared at him with blank expressions. What happened next, Heiase-san? Ayame was practically swooning over the counter now, much to Naruto's annoyance. Even more so, Heiase indulged her. Then this incredibly dangerous kunoichi used this crazy rose petal genjutsu. Heiase scoffed. Of course it had no effect on me, but Ray-chan here Nakamura-san was, also, impervious, to the genjutsu, right, Nakamura-san? Ayame's expression faltered with the anticlimactic storytelling. Then what happened? Naruto tuned out to Hayase's tales and opted to strike up a conversation with the 2 teammates he actually liked. Well, Shikamaru, considering you beat 2 and I took care of their boss, I think it's safe to say they can't pull seniority on us anymore. Che. Ray scoffed at this. Strength isn't all that matters, Uzumaki. What if you had gotten injured? Without a medic nin you would be done for. Luckily for you, that's when I step. Ray allowed herself a keen smirk of confidence, one Naruto found quite irksome. Right. You're even more troublesome when you hate, Naruto, Shikamaru pointed out between bites. Haters gonna hate. Naruto shrugged and dug in. They continued to talk some more as they ate, but Naruto grew annoyed with Heiase and his impure intentions with Ayame. The looks and gesture and shameless flirting were getting to him, thus decided to put a stop to it. So, Ayame, how about you and I go out crack? With swift, precise movement, Naruto kicked a leg on Hayase's stool in a strategic area, breaking it and causing Heiase to fall backwards. Whoa. Heiase flapped his arms but to no avail as he fell on his back. Oof. He grunted. It happened so fast Ayame's civilian's eyes couldn't keep up. Heiase-san. Are you okay? Ayame turned to walk around the counter but Naruto held up his extended hand to Heiase and who looked at him suspiciously. Naruto pulled Heiase up by the hand and applied some pressure to his grip, speaking so low only Heiase could hear. If I catch you hitting on her again like she's some random girl you can sleep with and never speak to again, I'll break your arms, got it? Got it. Heiase swallowed thickly and pulled another stool. Naruto caught an approving nod from Tucci, who had noticed what happened, and mouthed, don't mention it to the ramen chef as he brought him complimentary bowl. Ayame, come help me in the back will you? Tucci took his daughter by the hand and went to the kitchen. His daughter cast on last lingering look but complied anyway. What's up with you? Heiase clenched and unclenched his hand a few times, protective much, Uzumaki. I've known her since I was a kid, Naruto told him, in other words, she's off limits to you, got it? And if you think I was kidding, just wink at her and see what happens. Naruto's tone was casual, but nothing indicated his threats were empty. Ray smiled slightly. Glad Heiase finally got put in his place for once, let's just enjoy our meal. She changed the subject just in case Heiase got stupid enough to call Naruto on his threat. So, Heiase looked uneasy but pressed on anyway. How did you get Gamabunta to let you summon him, Naruto? Hell, how did you manage to summon the other one? Naruto slurped the last few of his noodles. Technically speaking, I am not the boss of Gamabunta. Naruto paused pragmatically and hung his head as he sweat dropped, shame and humility settling in on his demeanor. He sees me as his subordinate. The Toads run their clan like a Yakuza and Gamabunta's the boss. When I turn 21, I need to share a drink with Gamabunta to officiate our bond for life. Heiase burst out laughing and even Ray and Shikamaru joined him. The tension air was instantly lifted with the hilarious revelation. It's not that funny, Naruto sighed. You got any idea how hard it's gonna be to find enough sake for him? We're talking at least 6 to 10 barrels here, for one cup. You can always water it down, Hayase suggested. He warned me about that. Naruto shivered. I'd still like to retain the use of my limbs for the time being, so no thanks. What about the other frog? Hayase asked. Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. Toad, Hayase, they're toads, and unless you want to get squashed to death the next time you see them, you'll remember that. Hayase chuckled, thinking he was joking, and Naruto continued. The other toad you saw was Gamahiro. He's one of Gamabunta's subordinates and now he's my familiar. Shikamaru was impressed. So hell fight on your behalf now. Naruto nodded and Shikamaru gave him an appreciative look. I should sign my clan's summoning contract. That'll make fighting considerably less troublesome. What animal does your clan have? Ray asked, now genuinely interested. Deer, Shikamaru replied. Naruto sniggered. Deer? They're better than amphibians. Toad boy, Shikamaru shot back. My clan tends deer and collects their antlers for medicinal uses. Shikamaru elaborated, to which Hayase and Ray nodded. Well, Ray and I aren't as lucky as you, so we've applied for summoning licenses. I am hoping to sign Konoha's Hawk summon contract. What about you, Ray-chan? Naruto asked. Buzzards, she curtly replied. They're smaller but more agile. They'll probably take less chakra to summon than hawks, so that's another advantage. Especially for a medic, huh? You guys can't just squander your chakra. Naruto nodded in understanding. Like you would understand, Ray mocked. You have more chakra than all of us combined. I'd say it's not even human. Naruto shrugged and pushed himself of the counter. I am calling it a day, we've got debriefing tomorrow, so I'll see you guys then. Later Naruto, said Hayase jovially, a little too jovially. This prompted Naruto to turn around with a final death glare that foretold a world of pain, should the perverted swordsman make a move on Ayame. Remember, no fly zone, Hayase. Naruto stuffed his hands in his pockets and parted the high curtains as he left the ramen bar. He was halfway down the street when Ray caught up with him. Naruto, Naruto. He repeated bemused. What happened to Uzumaki? He made a point of mimicking Reese's detached tone. What y'all want? Reese's eyebrow twitched, but she got on with it. This summoning scroll, can you teach me how to summon ferrets? Oh, so that's what that creature was, a ferret. Naruto tapped his fist in his palm with a dawning expression, as though a light bulb had turned on above his head. I thought it was a lemur. So, can you teach me how to summon? Ray asked again. It was evident in her body language she wasn't too big on asking people for help, and Naruto picked up on it when he gave her the scroll. She was like him in that sense. Sure. I'll teach you how to summon ferrets, right, ferrets. I'll teach you how to summon them, but you owe me. I don't run a charity here, Naruto said with a smirk. Ray smiled too. I wouldn't have it any other way, Uzumaki. Naruto. Ray shook her head slowly and Naruto kicked the dirt. Of course not. See you later, Ray-chan. Don't call me that. Her complaint fell on deaf ears as Naruto strode down the road back to his apartment. The following day. Briefing Room 1. Naruto and Shikamaru met up outside of the Hokage Tower the next morning, still somewhat tired, but they couldn't complain too much. With Sarugaku out of commission, it was unlikely for them to be sent on missions outside of Konoha. Had a good night's sleep? Shikamaru asked as they entered the tall cylinder-shaped Hokage Tower. Naruto shrugged and stifled a yawn. What's with the small talk, Shika? He hadn't slept much at all actually, having stayed up late into the night reading up on Fuinjutsu and practicing lightning chakra applications with a handful of clones in his apartment. You look tired, so do you. I was just making conversation, Nara shrugged. Naruto wasn't buying it and he grinned knowingly and Shikamaru caught it, prompting him give in. I spoke to my old man last night. You want my help on summoning deer, don't you? Naruto interrupted. You're probably tired because for once you actually stayed up all night to practice, but you haven't gotten anywhere, have you? From Shikamaru's body language, he could tell he had hit the nail on the head as the lazy genius stuffed his hands in his pockets with a shrug and nodded. It's tougher than I thought, Shikamaru admitted with an begrudging tone. Why didn't you ask your old man for help? Naruto asked as they turned a corner past the reception. He said was too busy to teach me how to do it himself, but he let me sign the contract last night. He said not to worry about the tribute though, whatever that means. Naruto adopted a thoughtful look and rubbed his chin. I don't know about deer, but whenever I summon Gamabunta's kids they expect food, so whatever it is deer usually expect, you probably don't have to provide it since your dad is the holder of the contract, right? Naruto stretched his arms above his head, curving his neck slightly. Right, Shikamaru agreed, so will you teach me how to summon? Naruto furrowed his brows. I am not exactly qualified to teach anyone, Shika. Ray asked me the same thing last night and I told her I'd help, but I am not sure if I am the right person to talk to. Maybe you should wait till your dad's got the time to do it himself. Reese got a summoning contract. Shikamaru's genius caught on quick and he slowly nodded. The summoning contract Kagiri had, You gave it to her, why? Naruto shrugged. Why not? It's not like I could use it. Have you got any idea how much a summoning contract is worth? Why didn't you hand it over again? The shadow user's genius was lagging behind. I see, Sarugaku. Correct. Naruto nodded as they turned another corner to the briefing hall. Shikamaru sighed. You could have handed it in yourself and gotten all the credit. That's not why I gave it to Rei though, then why did you? Shikamaru raised a curious eyebrow, stuffing his hands in his pockets. You're not following in Hyaze's footsteps, are you? Naruto took affront to the comment. How dare you, he said in a mocking tone. Of course not. Chasing girls might be fun, but my chances with any girl here are pretty slim. I mean, considering my reputation. Naruto quickly added, he had gone and spoken without thinking and nearly said something he shouldn't have. Probably. Shikamaru massaged the back of his neck as they came to a stop in front of briefing room 1. A round of applause went by as Naruto and Shikamaru pushed through the door. Their peers of the Niju Shotai and a few others they hadn't seen before were standing and clapping. Some even whistled and made other celebratory noises. Congratulations, you two. Their platoon leader Kazuo Enro approached them and placed a paw-like hand on their shoulders. You two have done great work since you joined the platoon. I am sure before long we'll lose you to other departments. But for the time being you are rookies no more. You've earned these. Enro held up triangular pieces of white cloth with red circles in the middle, with Niju Shotai embroiled in gold-colored weave. Wear M with pride, boys. Enro patted his bicep to indicate a similar cloth of his own. I made M myself. All of the seasoned members in my platoon get one. Naruto was swept into a throng of his colleagues, all of whom wanted to shake his hand and pat him on the shoulder and ask him about his latest mission as though he were some superhero. The cloth nearly slipped out of his fingers as Naruto felt a wave of humility. Happiness and euphoria and hundreds of other emotions he couldn't register wash over him. He had never been the center of attention like this. He had never been thought of as one of the formidable, dependable, respectable guys in the group. For the first time in his life, Naruto felt truly acknowledged. He felt as though he had achieved a lifelong dream, and in a sense, Naruto realized, he had. There were probably no more than 40 shinobi in the briefing room, but Naruto felt as though he had just won over the entire village and it felt great. Hell yeah. Naruto punched the air with the cloth still in his hand. His colleagues cheered and joined him in his chants whilst Shikamaru slid into the background with a content grin, leaning against a wall to tie the cloth around his thigh whilst Naruto recounted tales of his battle against Kagiri. Hey, Ace here tells me you summoned Gamabunta, is that true? Asked Midori, a seasoned Chunin Naruto new to a member of Team 311. Several others nodded as well, wanted to know the answer to that question themselves. It's not as big of a deal as you think it is, Naruto shrugged modestly. It was childish, despicable even perhaps, but he enjoyed the praises he got for his modesty. Shikamaru here took out at least 2, isn't that right, Shikamaru? Leave me out of this, the lazy genius responded curtly, getting around a boisterous laughter. Hey, Uzumaki, now that you took care of this hotshot Iwanuke Nin, it doesn't sound so crazy anymore when people say you defeated Sabaku no Gaara, said another Chunin whom Naruto barely knew. Naruto frowned. He didn't exactly want to get into that right now, not to misunderstand. Naruto was glad people were starting to believe him, but he didn't want to distract from the team effort he had experienced in Tanzakugai. Yeah. Let's not talk about that. Come on. Why not? Shouted another. Enro cleared his throat loudly. Alright, that's enough. We still have work to do, so get back to your seats for briefing. Naruto exhaled deeply and took his seat next to Shikamaru with a grin and a nod to Rei and Hayase, who had also clearly gotten some of the credit, judging by their dispositions. So this is what acknowledgement feels like on a larger scale, Naruto thought. It usually took me so long to get acknowledged by just one person, but this is something else. Today is a good day for the Niju Shotai of Border Patrol. Boys and girls, Kazuo announced with a broad smile as he stood behind the lectern. This morning I was handed a large document on a new international criminal organization known as Akatsuki. Kizu gave pause for comments. There were none. The Akatsuki are shrouded in mystery. We know very little of its origins, its leaders or even their motives. What we do know, however, is this. They are as big as it gets to criminal activity and they've been around for quite some time. Kizu picked up a remote from the lectern and nodded to one of his assistants stand by the door, who closed it and turned off the lights as the second assistant in the back finished setting up a old and battered-looking carousel slide projector. The room went dark and Kizu began switching past slides with his remote. They are involved in everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything. People, drugs, weapons, slave trade, contract killing, mercenary work, civil war, you name it, they are involved. How come this the first time we've heard of them if they are so big? Asked a Chunin sat a row behind Naruto.
Please keep all questions to yourself until I say otherwise. Kizu frowned. But to answer your question, the reason why we haven't heard of the Akatsuki until now is due to their secrecy. The leading figures of Akatsuki have avoided detection for years through their highly secretive method. In truth, most of the criminal organizations we know of now are a part of Akatsuki one way or another. As crazy as it sounds, that's the truth. For years the Akatsuki have been silently taking over and subordinating criminal organizations all over the world. Up until recently, however, they've started to act more openly and have become a serious threat to our homeland, which is exactly why we have to deal with them. The slides moved to pictures of large freighters bearing in on others. Piracy, Kizu said simply. The Akatsuki has gotten so strong, they can effectively put a blockade on any given country on the coast. Our Marine Division took these photographs on the coast of Cha no Kuni, and as you can see in these slides, if you look closely at the ships, there's red clouds on the flags and on the sides of the ships. Correct. Kizu nodded. We believe red clouds are the symbol of the Akatsuki. A reference to the Red Dawn they speak of, by which we believe they mean a revolution. A new era that will be paid for in bloodshed, though it is too early to tell. These Akatsuki may be more than simply an international criminal organization, and as you can see, we have limited information the Akatsuki as they have only recently started to set up operations in Hai no Kuni. It is for this reason and this reason only our platoon has been pulled off the scouting rotation and is tasked with investigating their presence. At the end of this briefing, all of you will be given a dossier on all of our current information on the AKA. Rushed sounds outside of the briefing room interrupted Kizu. Naruto didn't know why, but he suddenly felt a sense of dread as though something bad was about to happen. It was suddenly as if all briefings were put to a stop as doors were slammed, people started to argue loudly outside, and a sense of panic spread. It wasn't until Naruto's slightly sensitive ears picked something up that he understood his clairvoyant sense of dread. Hokage-sama is down. What? That's impossible. Naruto stood up and began making his way to the door. By now everyone else had heard too. What the fuck is going on? Hokage-sama is down. One of the Chunin shouted as Naruto ran past him. He hadn't even noticed he was running. They all began to shout as every began talking at once, and even their platoon leader was in apparent shock as he didn't shout them down or notice Naruto running out of the room.
Shikamaru called after him, but Naruto wasn't listening. Impossible. Naruto repeated the thought over and over in his mind like a mantra as he continued to run. The old man was fine the last time I saw him. There's no way he would just collapse. It has to be a stupid rumor or a misunderstanding. And yet Naruto continued to run as though his life depended on it. The reception to the Hokage Tower was packed with shinobi and councilmen, all of whom were loudly demanding to know where the Hokage was. Naruto pushed past them to reception and saw Izumo and Kotatsu shouting back at the crowd. Hokage-sama was taken to the hospital by his Anbu detail due to an asphyxiation attack. Kotatsu shouted over the loud demands. We don't know what caused it, nor do we know his current condition. Before you all decide to rush over to the hospital, the captain of his Anbu detail requested me to remind you that they will not allow any non-essential visits once the Hokage is stabilized. He also clarified the council will have to invoke Clause 4 and take over village proceedings until further notice. It must be his injuries from fighting Orochimaru. Let the council take over. They're the ones that caused this. They rushed him into getting back to work so soon before his injuries healed properly. What are you talking about? The council is not to blame for any of this. Of course you would say that. What's that supposed to mean? Huh, bastard. The arguments fell on deaf ears, everything did. Naruto felt as though he was walking underwater. He didn't hear anything. He could only feel his own gripping fear that the one person who had always loved him unconditionally was slipping away. The one man he respected more than anyone else, loved more than anyone else, was dying. Naruto turned around again and ran outside the Hokage Tower and headed to the hospital. He didn't care if he would have to fight the entire Anbu department himself. He was going to see his grandfather before it was too late. Ooh, Konoha Hospital. Naruto was breathing heavily by the time he arrived at the hospital. He leaned onto the counter with sweat running down the side of his head as he rasped between breaths. I need to see the Hokage immediately. The middle-aged receptionist shook her head. No visitors are authorized, she said coldly. It was a slap in the face compared to the warmth Naruto had felt when he earned his cloth less than an hour ago. What are you out of all people doing here anyway? Leave before I call security. Crack. Naruto's fist sunk 3 inches into the counter. Don't give me that fucking shit, lady. Naruto shouted at her, spitting the profanities with venom. Where are you keeping the Hokage? I need to see him now. Like I said, filth. Naruto lunged over the counter and seized the receptionist by her robe and pulled her close with a snarl. Listen, bitch. I don't have time for your games. I need to see the old man. Tell me where he is or I'll force it out of you. Naruto had never threatened anyone like this, especially not a villager. But the situation was too grave for him to take the insults meekly. He was done with that the day he was promoted, and he was determined to make the people respect them, and if that didn't work, they would fear him. Security. The receptionist screamed. She trashed oddly in his grip, somewhat resembling a hawk. Naruto momentarily lost it and swung back his hand, readying it to strike woman when he felt a sudden resistance. Naruto's eyes widened as he found himself staring into a white porcelain mask of an Anbu operative. Uzumaki Naruto, come with me. Naruto glared at the masked shinobi, pulling his hand back with a sudden jerk of his shoulder. Who are you? I am Rooster. You are here to see Hokage-sama, correct? The Anbu asked with monotone voice, to which Naruto nodded. Then simply come with me. Hokage-sama has authorized you to see him. Naruto paused for a moment and then nodded, to which the Anbu responded by placing a hand on his shoulder and instantly shunshining them away. Naruto's head spun momentarily, but he bit through the pain, refusing to show his disorientation, and followed the Anbu, matching his brisk pace down the closed-off section of the hospital. For the most part the entire floor was cast in shadows, but there was a bright light coming from the end of the hall, likely the Hokage's room. What happened? Naruto asked, feeling an eerie sense he was being watched by more than just one pair of eyes. I heard he had an asphyxiation attack in his office, that he was unable to breathe and you had to rush him here for an emergency operation. Was it successful? It was indeed, replied Rooster shortly. Naruto wasn't assured, so, he'll be okay? Rooster gave no reply and stopped right in front of the room where two Anbu operators were stationed. Here we are. Naruto reached for the doorknob, his heart in his throat, and turned it as he pushed through and walking into a spacious room. Naruto's eyes immediately fell on the aged Hokage, hooked onto a respirator and several other large and complicated-looking machines. To his right were a doctor and a nurse. Strange, Naruto would have thought if he hadn't realized the frail old man must have gone through extensive surgery in which technology, not medical jutsu, was used. Naruto's eyes finally fell up on the tall, broad-shouldered and imposing figure of none other than Jiraiya. Aro Sennin. The perverted hermit for once didn't twitch at the nickname. What are you doing here? Naruto asked, approaching the foot of the bed. I was once his student, you know, Jiraiya reminded him, to which Naruto gave a small nod, fully understanding the Toad Sage now. Naruto forced himself to look away from the Hokage. He didn't like seeing him so weak, but it was hard not to look, even if he was strapped up to dozens of tubes and a respirator that covered his entire body. What happened? Naruto's tone was almost demanding. I was in briefing downstairs when I heard about it. Is he going to be okay? Jiraiya sighed and nodded to the doctor, who then gave a dry cough and read from his chart. Hokage-sama was admitted with a severe case of asphyxiation and liver failure. The surgery was a success and he's stabilized for the time being, but he may never be able to channel chakra again. What? Naruto hissed. You're telling me he'll have to step down? His injuries are quite serious, Uzumaki-san. Of course he knew who Naruto was. At his age, his body was already deteriorating to the point he could no longer make use of the large chakra reservoirs he once commanded in his youth. His body simply can't keep up with it and he has slowly become less and less powerful, losing more and more chakra over the years through age and natural muscle degeneration. We refer to this condition as chakra degeneration. It is a quite simple but rare condition as not many shinobi live to reach 70. What are you talking about? Naruto shouted at the man. The old man is the strongest shinobi in the village, the world even. How could be so strong if he's been suffering of this chakra degeneration crap you're talking about? Jiraiya walked over and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. The doctor knows what he's talking about. Naruto, Enma, the old man's personal summon, came by earlier and told me what happened during his fight with Orochimaru. Like I suspected, it was pitiful compared to what Sensei was capable of in his prime. Had it been a different situation, Naruto would have been shocked to find out summons could travel to the human world on their own accord, but unfortunately this was not a different situation. Oh, Orochimaru. That happened months ago. What are you saying it was the old man's injuries from the fight that caused this? Jiraiya said nothing, merely casting his gaze to the doctor. I thought you said he was here because of his chakra degeneration. The medical professional adjusted his glasses and shook his head. Not quite. The injuries Hokage-sama suffered in his battle with Orochimaru hadn't had proper time to heal due to Hokage-sama returning to work so soon. The biopsy results came back and we detected a string of highly toxic poison, most likely delivered through the puncture wounds in the Hokage's chest from a poisoned blade. We didn't catch it the first time around because, well, to be quite frank, it is an ingenious piece of work. The fuck did you just say, Doc? Naruto looked like was about to throw a punch at the doctor, but Jiraiya held him in his place with a firm grip on his shoulder. You might want to rephrase that, Jiraiya warned calmly, also looking none too pleased. Of course, my apologies. What I meant to say was that the poison, or virus really, developed over time like a leech. So far, Our research has concluded that the virus feeds on the chakra and life energy of the host. A shinobi's body would be the perfect incubator due to its developed chakra pathways and reservoirs, coupled with Hokage-sama's chakra degeneration. This virus will only deal more damage. The less chakra in the body, the faster it can break it down. Can you fix it? Jiraiya asked calmly. The doctor gave a long and pointedly pause. I'm afraid not. This type of ailment may be slowed down by dialysis sessions and short-term remedies, but it is quite unlikely anything I have ever seen before. You may want to call in a medical ninja. Perhaps they are the better suited doctors for Hokage-sama's condition. No, Jiraiya said immediately, there's only one person that could possibly fix this. The doctor caught on immediately. Ah yes, but unfortunately she left the village quite a few years ago. What? Who are you two talking about? This wasn't a good time for Naruto be out of the loop, if there ever was any time. Who are you talking about, Ero Sennin? This woman, she can heal the old man. Jiraiya rubbed his chin with a thoughtful expression and eyes fixated on the frail body of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Maybe, but if anyone can it's gotta to be her. I am confident that she could save his life. Jiraiya nodded a few times. She cured countless poisons and viruses in her career. The problem is going to be to find her though. Naruto's eyes narrowed. He felt rather annoyed with Jiraiya. They knew the solution to their problem. Why was he wasting time? Then what are we waiting for? He checked his pouch and nodded to himself. He still had all of his equipment sealed up. If you say she could help, then let's go find her. We can leave right now. We? Jiraiya appeared genuinely taken back by the determined look in Naruto's eyes, and after a moment he sighed and then smiled. I wouldn't have had it any other way, kid. Jiraiya. Naruto's response died in his throat as they both looked to the door where an elderly man and woman stood side by side. Naruto could vaguely remember seeing them on occasion when he went to visit the old man back when he was still a kid. Jiraiya seemed to know who they were. Koharu, Homura. Still as impudent as ever, Koharu remarked snidely as they strode into the room. What is he doing here, Jiraiya? Hiruzen is in grave condition, he has no business here. Rooster brought him up, so he must have been authorized by the old man. Hard to believe he put you two on the list though, Jiraiya added with a subtle glare. What are you two doing here anyway? Come to pay your respects already? That joke is in poor taste, Jiraiya rebuked Homura in his gruff voice. We were once his teammates, and now we are his personal advisors. Of course we would be here. Jiraiya looked to the unconscious Hokage for a moment. Well, knock yourselves out. Naruto and I were just leaving. Ah, yes, you were about to embark on a search for Tsunade then? Homura inferred. You heard that. My privacy seals must be getting sloppy. Jiraiya frowned. You can't stop me, he said after another moment of tense silence. What would make you think we would want to stop you? Koharu challenged with an audible disdain in her voice. We did not hear of your plans, but we had anticipated them. It so happens we want you to retrieve Tsunade. That would be in the best interest of the village. She looked to her partner and he nodded to her reassuringly. And why's that? Naruto spoke up for the first time. Both elders looked upon him at once, disdain in their eyes. Isn't it obvious, Naruto? Jiraiya's tone grew cold as ice. They want us to bring Tsunade back so they can replace the old man with her. No way. Naruto shouted with an angry glare directed at the two advisors. You can't do that. That hat belongs to the old man. We can and we are, Homura responded coolly. Know your place, Uzumaki. This does not concern a Chunin, ideally, of course, he then added as he directed his gaze to Jiraiya. You would have been our candidate for the seat of Hokage, but you know I'd tell you to shove it up your collective asses, you and whoever else supported you. Jiraiya finished without missing a beat. Well, good luck with getting Tsunade to accept the job because you'd have a much easier time convincing Orochimaru to take it. Jiraiya. Koharu said sternly. Naruto had to admire Jiraiya's guts. He was talking down to two of the most powerful people in Hai no Kuni without so much as batting an eyelash. Naruto wondered how Sarugaku would have handled the situation. That almost brought a smile to his face. Almost. Fine, I'll ask her when I see her, but if she doesn't take the job, you will, Koharu interrupted coolly. I will. Jiraiya challenged aggressively. It was rather an odd sight for Naruto to see Jiraiya act like, well, him, and what gave you that bright idea, you old bat? Koharu smiled smugly with a knowing expression. Because you are your master's student, she said simply. You may have traveled for years and refused countless of summons, but when there's trouble home you always come back running, Jiraiya. That is why you came back to warn Hiruzen of the invasion, and it is why you are here, by his side now. You wouldn't be able to live with yourself if you disappointed him, would you? Koharu glanced at her former teammate. In some ways, you are still the same needy little boy you were all those years ago. Naruto's breath hitched. He could feel the tension rise, and it was as if the room temperature fell far below zero. After what seemed an eternity, Jiraiya finally conceded. Fine, I'll try to convince her to take the job, as impossible as that may be. Good. Homura said with a dry cough, reminding Naruto vaguely of an elderly Sarugaku. "I'll prepare a team of ANBU. That won't be necessary," Jiraiya cut off, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "I'll be taking this brat with me. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this my way." Jiraiya, Koharu began. The Toad Sage didn't back down on this one though. "Look, if you send a team of Anbu to retrieve Tsunade, you're just asking for trouble. The last time we spoke, she was pretty rusty, but she can still handle herself better than most. To be blunt, I don't think you can afford to have an entire Anbu team out of commission." "An entire Anbu team? This Tsunade can't be that strong, can she?" It was mind-boggling to even think of the possibility someone could be that strong. From the way they were talking, Naruto got the impression this Tsunade lady could take on even Jiraiya. "Hey, Aro Sennin, this Tsunade lady is pretty strong then, huh?" "The strongest," Jiraiya affirmed. "She was my teammate along with Orochimaru when we were the old Mont students." Homura sneered at Naruto's lack of knowledge. "This is who you choose as a student? This is the fool you picked over all others we recommended to you to sign the Toad summoning contract? Jiraiya, I must say, you disappoint me." Jiraiya opened his mouth to say something, but Naruto beat him to it. "Hey old man." "Old man?" Homura repeated incredulously. "Do you have any idea who you are?" "You're fired." Jiraiya burst out laughing, and so did the doctor as Koharu and Homura shared quizzical expressions. "Excuse me?" Koharu demanded. "You're not excused," Naruto responded. "A few years from now, if you haven't kicked the bucket by then, and I am looking at you to go first, Granny, consider yourselves fired when I put on that Hokage hat," Naruto declared with cavalier bravado. "Neither of you have faith in the old man even though you're supposed to know him better than anyone else. When I am the Hokage, I am giving both of you the boot, and believe me, that won't take as long as you think." Before either of the flabbergasted advisors could respond, Jiraiya tugged Naruto along by his sleeve. "Let's go, Naruto, we've got a long journey ahead of us," said the Toad Sage. "Don't send anyone to follow us, you won't like what happens if you do." The door slammed shut with a bang. "That boy may be the spitting image of him, but he has her personality," said Homura. "Unfortunately, he is nowhere near as talented as his father." Homura shook his head. "I believe it is yet too early to tell, Koharu. He may very well surpass him one day, if his determination is anything to go by. Such nonsense does not become you, Homura." Koharu snorted derisively, and then they too left the room. That's it for today, guys. Hope did you enjoyed this one. If you do, please leave a like, share and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.